What's up, Albert? Should I do the whole thing, even though it's not that we don't have the pod music, but should I still say hello and welcome to the MMQB NFL podcast? I'm Conor Orr and Albert Breer is here. Thank you, everybody who's already hanging out with us at 7:30. We got a half an hour to go until the draft, but plenty to talk about, apparently. Albert is in New England. I am here in New Jersey, just in the shadow of MetLife Stadium. And let's get right to it, buddy. I mean, I thought we'd be talking about Jeremiah Love right now. We're talking about Mike Vrabel. He just made a statement to the media. Catch us up. You were watching it while we were getting ready here.
Yeah. So we're working through some technical stuff here, I'd say. I don't know if you can hear me okay, Connor, but
I can hear you. Yeah.
I have a little bit of an echo, so I'll work through that.
He's a professional, folks.
Yeah. So, I mean, I think the Mike Vrabel press conference obviously is an effort, again, for them to move past this. I don't know where it goes here. And I'm going to work on my computer really quick.
Yeah.
Because I'm getting it twice.
All right. Well, Albert does that. I'll catch everybody up on what's been going on with Vrabel.
I got it fixed. That was user error, by the way, just so you know. So we're off to a flying start here.
For those of you who listen to the
I linked it out to everybody out there watching. I linked it out to you guys, and then I left the link on the tweet that I sent out open. So I was hearing myself on the delay. That is no one's fault but my own. But again, this is our first time doing this, and we want all of your feedback. So, Connor, you can ask me the question again. We can restart the show because I'm a freaking moron.
Here we go. So my favorite part of the MMQB podcast is that Albert pretends not to be as old as he is. And he's like, I can hang. I'm not a boomer. I'm not a boomer. And then literally commits like a level 2 computer error right when the stream goes live. But this is live.
That was like the opposite of like the old man who can't figure out that he's muted on Zoom, right? Like that was the opposite of it, because I was not getting myself. It wasn't that I wasn't getting myself at all. It was that I was getting myself twice and getting you twice, and I couldn't figure out why. And then I'm like, oh, it's because I have the browser open with. So anyway, like I said, flying start. What you got? What you got?
I'm going to toss it to you in a second, but first, a hello to everybody here. Emmett the Newland 9698, Kim Reed Brown, Dennis Photo, McSnacks. Two dads just hanging out, watching the draft. That's basically what's going on right now.
Yeah.
We actually have someone in here. Oh, Dennis Photo, I'm a little early, so I got time for a little pre-show cigarette. Oh, I'm jealous, man. I gave up darts a couple years ago, but, enjoy it. Smoke them if you got them. We're, like we said at the top of the show, I thought we'd be talking about David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Jeremiah Love right now. But as we zero in here on about 20 minutes to go before the start of the draft, Mike Vrabel just gave a press conference, and this was a press conference after a press conference and a press conference after a press conference. And this has just been in layers of, and I don't blame anybody necessarily, but it's the Patriots, it's Mike Vrabel, it's everybody trying to keep up with the speed of this story, which is flying. And for those of you who aren't aware, I mean, obviously there was the photos that surfaced of Mike Vrabel in Sedona, Arizona a couple of weeks ago. There was the initial response, the denial. There was Mike Vrabel yesterday, essentially, I think kind of a mea culpa in some way, shape, or form. Then there was the admission that he wasn't going to be with the team on Saturday, followed by more photos and more photos and more photos from different outlets. And now Mike Vrabel, I think, and this is where I'll kick it to you, Albert. I think that the purpose of his press conference today was simply to reiterate, I'm not going to be here on Saturday, but I would like it if when we draft these guys, if you would please not ask them about my photos, because this is the greatest night of their life, which is admirable. It's just, it creates a journalistic ping pong match there for everybody involved, because this is obviously the biggest story in football right now.
Yeah. And I think this has been fumbled a lot of different ways by everybody involved. And I think what Mike's doing is genuine. And I think him coming out the other day was genuinely about not having to have his players answer for him.
Mm-hmm.
I think coming out this just now was about not having the draft picks have to answer for him, or not having to have Elliott Wolf answer for him, which I think would have been the case if he hadn't done this. Obviously, there are a ton of unanswered questions when it comes to this, and I don't think he necessarily. I don't think it's possible to move past this yet. But I think the tone has certainly changed this week. I think you could see it the first time, and now my notifications are going off, and I got somebody. I think that was Shelby or Alex asking me to turn my notification sounds off, which I thought they were off, and now they're not. So we got to figure that part out.
It's live radio, baby. It's the beauty of it.
It's just like some of them are coming in and then others aren't. Anyway,
it's just your mom being like, Albert, your tie looks phenomenal. Albert, you look great.
No, some of them are dinging and then others aren't, which is really weird. And I don't know. Anyway, I guess maybe some of them are. Hold on. It says allow critical alerts. I'll turn all of these off, and maybe this will just turn all the sound off.
And then as soon as you do, the GM of the Steelers is like, Albert, we're trading up to number 2 for Jeremiah Love.
Oh, you know what? I think I got it. I think I have it, Conor. Okay. Jesus Christ.
No, this is great. This is great. I'm
feeling all my 46 years right now. So I don't think it's possible to move past it, of course, yet, but I think what you've seen over the last week is a complete change in tone and tenor. I think one of the biggest mistakes that he and Diana made off the top was being so combative. And, I think the word laughable was a huge mistake, a gigantic mistake. I think, if I was sitting there as a friend of Mike Vrabel, if you're sitting next to him and he's talking to you about doing that, I think you would show him the pictures and say, pretend this isn't you. Tell me what you see.
Right.
Because it wasn't laughable. The people would make that insinuation, Right. And so I think in this situation, I think you weren't going to be able to move past it until the tone changed. And so the first step of moving past it is changing the tone. And, I think that's where they are now. There's still a lot of unanswered questions, of course. I don't know that we're ever going to get the answer to a lot of those. And he's going to have to keep answering the questions because he's going to miss stuff this weekend. Mm-hmm. And so, there are going to be questions about the counseling that he got whenever he comes back and he's available for the first time. And, I think he has an understanding of all of that this is going to hang over them for a while.
What's interesting about the counseling part, and then I kind of have a couple thoughts and I'm curious how you would respond to them. The counseling part, remember that counseling was a key, and I'm not comparing these situations. I'm just saying that counseling and the mandatory nature of it for someone like Deshaun Watson was such a major part of him being allowed to return to the NFL. And he never got asked about what he learned from that experience. You know what I mean? And I think that there is probably a world where 3, 4, 5 months from now, Mike Vrabel is almost exclusively talking about Drake May and about Will Campbell's arm length and about how they're going to be able to stop the pass rush and all that stuff. I think that's on the horizon. But what's weird and unique about this story, and I'll get to what I really think here in a minute, but it's a phenomena that's very modern in the fact that you had, however these photos came to light in Sedona, but then over the last few days, photos in Mississippi, photos in New York, right? And I think what's happening is, everyone's got a camera phone and they're taking a picture and they're saying, oh, cool, it's the head coach of the Patriots, not realizing that that's not the person that he should probably be with in that moment. And I don't think that Mike knows. I don't think that the Patriots know. I don't think anyone knows how many more of these are going to come out, because it seems like it's strange in that there was no real effort to hide. You know what I mean? Like these are open spaces, they're public spaces. And so we don't know how far this goes at this point.
I mean, I'll just say this from a journalistic standpoint. If you're reporting on a story and someone calls you a liar and says you're wrong, there's no bigger accusation than that. You know what I mean? Like if you're reporting facts, this is different than opinion, right? Like opinion is totally different. Having a wrong opinion, that's way different than reporting facts that are wrong. And like, I just tell you this from my perspective. If I was reporting on a story and somebody said, and I've been there before, where somebody said you're wrong, you are working your ass off
Mm-hmm.
to shove it right down the throat of that person and say,
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm going to show you I'm not wrong. And I'm
Yep.
going to keep coming and coming and coming. And I've been in that position before where somebody's denied a story of mine. And I was so motivated to just make sure that I left no doubt that I was right. And, I think that that's something that in this story, like that's what really gave it legs was, okay, you're telling New York Post reporters they're wrong and they're being irresponsible. And it's a challenge. It becomes a challenge, and then it becomes a big deal for them. And now their competitor is a big deal for their competitors. And there are a lot of eyeballs on it. And because of the denial, it becomes a bigger story. It's like, okay, like let's see what else we can find out. And I mean, now it's gotten to the point where it's attracted like a non-sports crowd. You know what I mean? Like, because they let it grow to this level. I think I ought to get into crisis PR at some point. Maybe we can start the Breer and Orr, Breer Orr and Associates. I think we do a hell of a lot better than whoever was advising people in this one.
You know what though? It's often because we always arrive to this point, and it's weird because Diana's last public statement was something to the effect of like the feeding frenzy caused by people jumping to conclusions. That's the last we've heard from her. Vrabel has gotten in drips and drabs, slower and more surely, to the point where we thought he's eventually going to have to be, right? And maybe that's a year from now in a tell-all interview with a hand-picked reporter at Good Morning America or whatever it is, right? But hey, this is how I turn my life around. This is how I fix my marriage, whatever it is. But, the crisis PR strategy should always be just like admit that you made the mistake. Like, yeah. I mean, and again, not analogous, but steroid users in baseball. Like, no one cares about Andy Pettitte because Andy Pettitte's like, yeah, I did it. Everybody else was doing it, And what if Vrabel came out and said something to the same effect where it's like, am I the only coach that's ever cheated on his wife? No. I mean, but here we are. I'm sorry. Yeah. And I got to go fix this at home. I don't know. It has nothing to do with anybody else except for me and everybody else that I got to deal with at the house.
I also have found, and this is just like my own experience, that like people are pretty forgiving if you tell the truth, Sure. And like, I don't think anybody, like if they had come out and been apologetic in the beginning, I think a lot of this may be avoided. Maybe the Post stops digging, like I don't know. I mean, like this just became it's just spiraled completely out of control, and I think it becomes like that, like, oh my God, look at the level of premeditation here. And they drove 2 hours from Phoenix to get to Sedona. And it just becomes like, it's like an episode of Dateline. You know what I mean? Like that's what it becomes. And it's just, I think it's relatable for a lot of people, and so I don't know what fixes this. I mean, I obviously like it's affecting two families in a very deep way, and I don't know what fixes this outside of just time, like look, and I think even like, I mean, I don't know how you feel about this, Conor, but like the Patriots were in the Super Bowl last year.
Right. Like, that's what makes it so crazy.
If they start 1-3 or 1-4, and they're going to have a tough schedule this year, you don't think people are going to be pointing back to this?
That's a good point. I hadn't thought of that.
Happening in the off season there? People didn't have their crap together, so like that's sort of the price of all of this, even if it has nothing to do with them not being as good this year as they were last year. What do you think people are going to point to?
That's such a good point. And what comes to mind, and again, I mean, different situations, but you look at Tiger Woods pre-Escalade crash and you look at Tiger Woods post-Escalade crash.
I mean, we don't even have to like, it was like, how many times do you hear like, oh, maybe he lost his edge?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, and it seems silly, but like people really thought that, like, oh, he's got to have this, like, he's got to like have these vices to like make, like, that's what helps him keep his edge. And I mean, I don't know, like, do you know if that's not true? I don't know, but it's certainly something that people latched onto in the aftermath.
Yeah. And, first for everybody here, welcome. Everybody's coming in. So glad to see everybody. We're going to be covering the draft live. We're just doing a little preamble here with Mike Vrabel giving that press conference. we're going to be tipping some picks, baby. So get ready if you want to be a little bit ahead of the game. For those of you who are watching on SITV, and that's another way to download this, download the app, get on that, check out all of our programming. It's awesome. We're going to toss to a quick commercial break. Everybody else on YouTube, on social media, and all of our different platforms, stay here and hang with us. And just one more quick thought, I think, on Vrabel, and then maybe we'll bounce back and forth as we get closer to this, Albert. But I don't know about you, but I thought the move today was to just walk away indefinitely, to say what he said. And I think he kind of left the door open, if I'm being honest. I mean, if I interpreted his words the right way, because someone said, is there a chance that you're going to miss more football activity? And he said, I don't know. It's kind of about what my family needs, which makes sense, right? But you have Josh McDaniels there. He's been an NFL head coach twice. Yeah. He's been an assistant in that building for decades, right? And why wouldn't you just almost batten down the hatches and put yourself in the storm cellar and say, I'm stepping away from this team indefinitely until I can fix things with everybody else, and then I'll return when I return.
What you hear about in scenarios where coaches step away, like, I think is usually, I'll be back when I can give the team all of me. You know what I mean? And like, I'm not going to be distracted, and my mind's not going to be other places. And sometimes that takes immersing yourself. Like, you know, it was funny, like Emily brought this up, like Emily and I talked about this because she's a nurse, and, you know, she brought up the fact that this is like, is this inpatient now? Because like, it's generally now, I mean, Mike Vrabel is in a different category than everyday people, but generally you're not going to an outpatient counseling session on a Saturday.
Right.
So is this inpatient? Maybe it is. It's out of state. Like, is this some sort of retreat? Whatever it is, like, I think a big piece of this becomes like Mike Vrabel gets his own house in order, and whenever it's settled, whatever the outcome is, because who knows what the outcome is going to be. Because God knows Mike isn't really in control of that, you know?
Right.
But like, you know, whatever the outcome is, whenever he is like somehow found some level of peace with it, that's when you go back, you know? It'll be interesting to see what happens.
Welcome back to everybody who is on commercial break here at SITV. We've been rolling here on YouTube. Check out all platforms. Come here, join the chat, hit us up on social media. I think all the comments come in here, so we're seeing your questions, and we're going to get to those in a couple of minutes. To me, and you know, it's one of those situations where you see constantly everybody saying, well, the media is not addressing this because it's this media-led cover-up. And I think what puts me at unease generally is, like, if you're The Athletic and the New York Times, you have to do an investigation. If you're ESPN, who employed Diana when some of these photos were coming out, you have to do an investigation. If you're the Patriots and the Titans, who employed Mike Vrabel while this was going on, you have to do an investigation. And then outside of that, so that's in one bubble over here, and we can track if there are journalistic issues, impropriety, if there were stories that were set up and published that Vrabel wanted published, right? And where she was using that platform to do that, I think that's an issue. And that's something that we have to talk about. But until we know the scope of that, and that's taking place, on the other side of it, it's essentially an affair. And we've all had an affair in our lives somewhere, tangentially. I mean, you know, that has, you know, whether it's a friend or a family member or whatever, right? And it's sort of one of those situations
we've all had an affair. I don't know, man. I hope Emily's
not me. It's like, you know, everybody else here pointing to Albert. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, I mean, I like Shelby, Alex, be really careful about cutting that one.
Yeah, but I'm just saying that we've all known someone in our life has dealt with the fallout from that, right? Yeah. And when it's someone in your life that you know, it is so unbelievably catastrophic because it's kids, it's wives, it's aunts, it's uncles, it's grandparents. It's every time you go somewhere, it's following you around. And so I think until I know the stakes here, and if journalism was compromised, which probably it was, but until I know the scope of how compromised the journalism was, there's that part of me that's just like, God, it's an affair and it's just messy. And like, there's these people who never wanted to be public figures, including kids, who are just getting dragged through this. And so I think, you know, when you're asking about people are asking about the media hesitancy to talk to it. I think it's less a media hesitancy and it's like a human hesitancy. You know what I mean? I think it's different than like a coach subordinate relationship where it's like someone on the team that was like a power dynamic and stuff like that. It's just two people that seem to have been in a relationship for quite a long time, have gotten found out, and now the fallout is global, right? And so I don't know. I mean, that's my hesitancy with it, right? It's just like I want to know how high the stakes were. I want to know if anything at the Times was printed or the Athletic was printed that was inappropriate. Same with ESPN. I want to know if anything that had to do with Mike Vrabel's job at the Titans was not done because of this. And that's all. Those teams have to deal with that individually. And then I think when we know the scope of it, I think I would feel better coming out and saying, wow, this was destructive, instead of like, it was just a fling that got out of control. And that's not a football story. That's a human story. You know what I mean? That's just like, that happens to, again, not me or you, but like, you know, we all know someone that's happened to. And I think that's kind of my open and shut thought on it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you know, obviously there are going to be, I think there are implications all over the place. There are implications and, you know, like I think for a lot of people. And I don't like, I think from a football standpoint, you know, it's going to be interesting. I mean, even like this weekend, right? Like, I think like people joked about like, oh, well, you know, day 1, day 2 or more. Well, the reality is I actually think like having a guy there for day 3 that's a decision maker is more important, because a lot of the work on day 1 and 2, like, I mean, the 31st pick, like, look, there are like a handful of scenarios. They've gamed all those out. They're the stack that they have that they're looking at is much smaller. Day 2, you know, you're 2 more picks. Then you got 8 picks on day 3, and there's this wide range of different scenarios and outcomes and trade offers and moving this and moving that. And there's all this stuff that you've got to kind of do on the fly that I think it doesn't get as much attention, but it's happening faster, right? Because the clock is shorter and you're going deeper into the well of prospects. And, you know, how does that look when, you know, say in camp, Mike is looking at a 6th round pick. It's like, man, I wouldn't have done that. I wouldn't have picked him. You know what I mean? There's all kinds of implications to this from that standpoint. And again, like there's if they're not as good this year, do people point back at it, which I think would happen? Yeah, no question. There's a lot to sort through.
Let's dig into some of the comments. I see here from PQ190, if people boycott Patriots games and merchandise, Vrabel will be gone. I think that's true of anything, right? Where if there is a monetary loss, if it gets to the point where it's so unappetizing from a public's perspective, then sure, I think that Vrabel would be let go. I don't think that's going to happen in this case because he is so immensely popular. This team, like Albert said, is literally coming off of a Super Bowl run. And I think one thing that I've been just kind of this idea that I've been toying around with, and it's true of Belichick and not just Patriots coaches. It's true of like from our business. I was writing about Vrabel during the Super Bowl, right? And I did this story about him chugging C12 energy drinks, right? And, you know, he drinks like 4 or 5 of these things a day. And it's, you know, grossly unhealthy for you. But like, you know, a bunch of the people on the staff were like, it's almost Herculean the way that is, you know, he can take this on. Right. And, you know, and so within that reporting and within the story, I think you incidentally build him into something that is above human. Right. And then, you know, the thing about it is, and it's not just me, right? It's like everything that was written about Vrabel, he almost rose above human stature during that Super Bowl run, when in reality, like, okay, we probably could have covered it. And I think a lot of people did. You probably could have covered it as like Vrabel did a nice job. The Patriots have one of the easiest schedules in NFL history. Those things can coexist, but let's not build this guy up like he's Julius Caesar, right? Like there's sides to this. But what happens in the NFL is this gets out of control. And then when something happens that goes against the personality that we've built up in our heads, I think that it feels all the more shocking, just like it did when we saw Bill Belichick and Jordan Hudson and we started kind of unraveling how that whole relationship got together. It's so different than the do your job guy that you're like, people are building their life ethos around. You know what I mean? Does that make sense? Like, I think it's just like,
we're mythologizing them,
yeah,
we're mythologizing them. I mean, it's the mythologizing of a football coach and it's, I mean, like, look, they are public figures, so they are held to a different standard, right? Like, and they are in the public eye, so they're subject to scrutiny that other people aren't. And that's part of the deal, by the way, right? Like, when you accept that paycheck, look, like a high school you can go coach high school football and not be under any of this scrutiny. You know what I mean? But you're also not going to make $15 million a year. The money is there because of the attention that's on the sport, how popular the sport is, how important the sport is to people. And so that means, the trade-off like on that is that, there are going to be parts of your life that are going to be under a certain level of scrutiny. There are going to be certain things that like are a little different for you than other people. And, certainly I think that's a part of all of this, and, it's funny because, I'm guilty of it. I'm sure you were at some point too, but like, you write these big stories or tell these stories about these coaches as leaders and all of that different stuff, and you build them up. And, I think we all have to be careful about turning these guys into something that they're not, which is something beyond normal people. In a lot of ways, they are normal people. And, it's amazing to think about like the way, I mean, again, like, Nick Saban is like you watch Nick Saban on the game day set tonight, like, and it's almost like he's got sainthood there. But he's still he's not like he's not changing the world. You know what I mean? Like, he's
coming from the Ohio State guy. Yeah, I get it.
Well, Ryan Day has changed the world. No, I mean, but he's a football coach. You know what I mean? Like, and there's the same way this stuff can happen at your office, it can happen within a football team.
100%.
It's so funny because like I think of the Coldplay situation last year, right?
Right.
And how like some of the people who were open to making fun of the Coldplay situation with two private citizens are like all of a sudden now, oh no, this is a private matter. You know what I mean? Like, you see some TV shows that like were running like Joe, like you saw like on certain shows, like people like, basically like playing out the scene of the guy having his arms around the girl. And now those same shows are like, no.
Whoa.
That's personal. Yeah. You know what I mean? How dare you? It's like, there's a lot of hypocrisy in all this too, so I think you treat them, you try to treat them like normal human beings. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, that's always the best play with all this. And it's almost time for the draft.
It is almost time for the draft. When
we want to kind of like run through some of this stuff before we get going here.
Yes. I just have to say this first. It reminded me of when you were saying these people are infallible. It reminded me of my favorite headline from The Onion, which is the Vince Lombardi biography, When Pride Still Mattered. They put like a joke caption on it that said how one man overcame having a family to become the greatest head coach in NFL history. So, I mean, there is like, there's a kernel of truth in every joke. But I saw a great question, Albert, that asks you about some changes to your mock, if anything is altering as we get 2 minutes to go in the draft. I think that's a great place to start as we actually start talking about football here. Let's go.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, I just thinking about like what I had last night, which I filed at about like 8 or 9 o'clock, much to the chagrin of our editors. I think it was, I'm just, I don't know that I would change much. I'm looking at it now. I mean, like, there are different scenarios for all this stuff. But I feel pretty good about where I'm at with it. A couple of the themes I think to look for tonight. I think 7 offensive tackles go in the first round. So that would be Francis Mauigoa, the 2 Utah kids, Caden Proctor, Monroe Freeling, Blake Miller, and Max Hennichor. And I think the way those guys
A+ pronunciation, by the way. Holy God.
Could lead to,
I said A+ pronunciation, by the way. Holy
that's God. It. But anyway, I think like Detroit is like sort of the shelf for the run on tackles. And Tampa's willing to trade down. I think Baltimore would be willing to trade down. I think the Rams would listen on a trade down, potentially saying to themselves, like, if we get Omar Cooper, that might be similar to Mekhi Lemon. So I think there could be some movement with teams like Philly maybe coming up for tackles there.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's one thing to watch. The other thing would be the receivers. And so I think we're going to get at least 5, maybe 6 receivers in the first round. So the 5, I think, that are in, the top 2 are Tyson and Tate. And then I think you have a group of 3 that are sort of in the same category. And that would be Lemon, Cooper, and Concepcion. The 6th guy, and I think he's borderline, would be Denzel Boston. So I think those are the 2 positions that most teams, when I've talked to them, have talked about, like those will sort of dictate some of the things that are going on, over the course of the night. I think the other thing, Jermod McCoy, really bad knee situation. I think he falls through the first round. And I think like his situation has sort of defined the corner spot. So Delane, someone could come up and get Delane because I think he is clearly the number 1 guy now. I think the next guy pretty clearly is Colton Hood.
Yep.
And then I think after that, you've got a group that includes, Chris Johnson from San Diego State, Avion Terrell from Clemson, and Brandon Cisse from South Carolina. So those are sort of the big picture themes. And then what happens with the edge rushers at the top? What happens with Jeremiah Love? It should be really interesting.
Everybody in the chat, let me know, is Roger Goodell going to be booed? We'll see. Or are they going to cover up the booing? I don't know. I need your guys' reaction to this. You'll have to let me know because I have the draft on mute. And again, just a warning for everybody. If we get picks, and sometimes we will get picks before the NFL announces them on the draft, well, we're going to talk about it here because I think it's valuable. There's a big pick tipping debate that kind of consumed the media landscape here for the last week.
I'll give my take on this.
I'll give mine, and I want to hear yours too. The space between when the pick actually comes in and then we start finding out about it and then it gets announced on the air is simply filled by like someone on a desk who then gets the pick piped into their ear and they have to wait for the TV to catch up to what's going on. And so they'll say something like, oh man, like maybe the Raiders could use a quarterback here, but I don't know. We're just going to talk about it instead, right? Like, I mean, I think you guys want to talk about the draft. You guys want to talk about what's actually going on. We don't need a 5-minute interplay here between when a pick actually happens and when it goes live on TV. And for those of you guys who are on SITV, we'll see you in 1 minute. We'll be right back. Hang with us on YouTube here because we're still talking about the draft. We're getting to it. Roger Goodell's on the stage. TJ Watt. Everybody's waving those yellow towels. It's looking wild out there. Albert, give me your take on pick tipping. We haven't actually talked about this yet.
We have. So here's my thing. I'm like, I don't want to ruin anybody's experience watching the draft. I love the draft. I've been a huge draft junkie since the time I was a kid. I loved the Saturday all day thing. I think we talked about that on the podcast.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
My question is like, what are we protecting, right? Like, what are we really working around here? If I have the pick, should I wait to talk about it to protect somebody else's television show?
No.
And I don't think that's being very honest with your audience. I think it's self-serving. And look, like I think they do a great job. Like I think NFL Network and ESPN, I've got a lot of friends at those places. They do an awesome job. You should watch them. You know what I mean? Like I really like the job that they do. We're going to try to give you something a little bit different here. If you want to watch ESPN or NFL Network and put your phone down, God bless you. If we can give you something a little bit different by trying to dive into the war rooms and giving you some analysis a little bit earlier, then that's great too. I don't understand why more options is worse. And I don't think it's our job to cure anybody's phone addiction either. Like if you really don't want to know, like then just don't open Twitter because Twitter is the only place where it happens.
Thank you.
So basically what the people on ESPN, basically what the people who are telling you not like to what the people on ESPN or wherever else, what they're telling you to do by scolding people to not tip picks is they're saying, I want you following me on TV and social media. And so like for you to follow me on social media, you're going to see this other stuff that I don't want you to see. So then maybe you won't watch the draft. Right? I think people, if they really want the experience, can just watch it. If they want another experience, there's another experience for them too. But it's not our job. At one point, it was my job to protect the television program, right?
Yeah.
It was. It was, and it's not anymore. So I don't know. I'm not like, I think the whole thing is, I think it's a stupid debate. Honestly, the more options, the better. The more ways to cover the draft, the better. The more ways to follow the draft, the better. If I can give you something that you didn't know about the players or the teams involved, that's awesome. I'm really glad to do that. We're trying to give you another option here. And I mean, look, like, it's not my job to produce somebody else's television show. It's not my job to produce the NFL's product so they can sell this to the highest bidder and they can keep it as valuable as possible. It's our job to compete, right? So that's just my take on it. I'm not trying to ruin anybody's experience. No. I'm giving you what I know as I know it. And like, to me, that's not really, I don't think I'm hurting anybody by doing that. I don't think anybody's not watching the draft on ESPN or NFL Network because picks are being tipped. I think there are people that follow the draft on their phone through social media now who probably wouldn't be watching anyway because they're out doing something else.
Right.
That's fine too. You know, so anyway, I don't see it being at least for me, I don't think my experience watching would be affected in any way by what's going on here.
Going to dip into the comments here for a second. We have Todd Furies. He said, I hope Goodell gets booed. He's an awful person. We have the Crude Life Content Network that says, I'm still hoping that Jamarcus Russell is the special guest to announce Fernando Mendoza as the first overall pick for the Raiders. And this one, listen, I know what you're doing, but I'm going to say it anyway because I'm a child and I enjoy it. But this is username Hugh Janus. Hugh Janus, 6657, who says it's Conor's world and we're just living in it. You're gosh darn right about that. We also have a comment from someone named Elon Musk. And I don't know if it's the real Elon Musk, but he says, I'm really impressed with you. I don't normally write in comment sections, but I'd like to be your friend. All right. Well, Elon, I'm not going to make any statements on that, private or public. Albert, where do you think the draft pivots here? And can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
This is my goal for the entire night. Okay. Mm-hmm. I did my mock draft and it posted 2 days before your mock draft. I entitled it Chaos. This is like taking the NCAA tournament bracket and taking Siena over Duke in the first round, which I did. Okay. Yeah. And sometimes that happens. 1 out of 1,000 times it happens. So in my draft, I had Jeremiah Love, the Rams trading up for Jeremiah Love at 4. If that happens, I will lose my mind on this broadcast. I'm just telling you, I'm so primed for it.
I can tell you factually, they really like him.
Okay. And really here's the second part to that story. NFL Network this morning on Good Morning Football, and we have a lot of good friends on that show. They did a mock draft, which is that they all drafted a mock draft, and then whoever picked the best mock draft won the mock draft. God bless her, Jamie Erdahl took mine. And so Mike Garofolo texted me this morning, and Mike's great. We love Mike. And he said, listen, Jamie drafted your mock draft on NFL Network. I mean, she's vying
your mock draft.
She's vying for the crown here. And I said, tell Jamie that I kind of cooked up this Jeremiah Love thing. I was polishing off my mock draft around 1 a.m., had taken a lot of cold medicine because I had a cold, not because I need cold medicine to write or be creative in any way, shape, or form. But this came to me in sort of a little bit of a cold medicine induced haze. So if she wants to take that and run with it, let's go. But I'm just telling you something. If Jeremiah Love goes to the Rams at number 4, I will freak out. And there's a very real world where I'm doing laps around my house.
Be on the show. I'll be running the show by myself. He'll be pants off in the front yard.
It's like when in college, when what is it called? You have to do the if you get shut out in Pong, you have to take all your clothes off and run around the house. What was it called? The naked mile, the naked lap, whatever it is.
I'm offended you called it Pong. We called it Beirut where I went to school.
I feel like you would have. Just like, well, it's, what's surprising though, as we watch, I mean, the Raiders officially on the clock here.
The Raiders are on the clock, yes.
The Raiders are on the clock. Wow, they're taking this thing down. It's like 4 minutes and 50 seconds to go here. Just put it in. Nobody's going to call you about Fernando Mendoza. Yeah. I always thought that the Beirut thing was more, and I'm not calling Ohio State not a high-end school. I'm just saying it's not a school that takes itself seriously in terms of fanciness. And I always thought Beirut was like a fancy school thing. Anyway, we got Raiders guys shaking hands in the draft room, all the back slapping going on. That usually means that we got a pick here. And obviously it's Fernando Mendoza. Albert, what do you think about this? I think that we're kind of the tenor of this draft is such that we're so down on a lot of prospects. And you and I had Scott Turner on our podcast the other day. And I know that you've written about Fernando Mendoza within the perspective of maybe the last 3 draft classes. He's right up there with maybe not necessarily Drake May, but maybe behind that Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, Drake May, but right in there, right? I mean,
so I say the consensus. The consensus I've got on him is if you put together like the last 5 draft classes, so 22 through 2026, that's 5 groups of quarterbacks. I think Fernando Mendoza comes in either 4th or 5th among all the quarterbacks as prospects, right? And I think it's behind the first 3 in 2024. So that would be Caleb Williams, Jaden Daniels, and Drake May. And then I think there's a question, and Fernando Mendoza is the first overall pick. We can say that now.
Hey,
the Raiders have drafted Mendoza, and he is officially the first overall pick. So, yeah, I mean, I'd say like where you're looking at him, right, is as a really good prospect, and then the question becomes whether or not he can elevate to top 5 quarterback in the league. The comp I've heard most often with him is Goff. I had somebody say Phillip Rivers to me, which was kind of interesting the other day.
Nice.
But I think he's somewhere in that world where it's, I mean, look, like Jared Goff, maybe he's never been a top 5 quarterback, but this is a guy who like joined 2 broken franchises and got them both to conference championship games. You know, which like, so I think he's the type of quarterback you can win with. I think it's a good fit for Clint Kubiak. I'm going to hit some people there to get a little bit more info on a little bit more info on the background of the pick. But I like it. I think it's what the Raiders had to do, and obviously now officially it's happened.
Albert and I are in a fierce battle for mock draft supremacy, and as the arbiter of the mock draft battle, I grade them every year. Yeah, we're both 1 for 1. We both have Mendoza. I didn't mess that one up. What I like to do when I grade the mock draft is I like to adjust my rubric every year just so that it gives me a better chance of beating Albert. I've never beaten Albert in the head-to-head mock draft. I don't envision a world where that is happening anytime soon. But what I like to do is I like to add little like 0.25 point sweeteners or half point sweeteners. And I have like 7 trades in my mock draft. And so I'm giving myself an option where if I have 7 trades and every one of those hits, I'm giving myself like a little Mario Kart bonus. Okay. Is that fair? Like, so I'm working on a rubric, on a grading scale where I can actually take Albert out. We have some great comments, by the way, Albert, like 3 or 4 comments about your attire. I will just set the stage here. Albert is going on television later on. I am in my basement. I am a classic NFL blogger, not my mom's basement. This is my own basement. I own this basement. But this is my favorite t-shirt. I'm wearing my favorite t-shirt. This is about comfort. This is a coffee shop in New Orleans. And I got a great, it's called an old fashioned coffee. So they made it like an old fashioned, but it was like iced espresso. And I love the t-shirt so much that I went and I emailed them and I asked them to send me 3 more. So I wear this t-shirt, a version of this t-shirt every day. But I got some outfit changes planned, especially if Jeremiah Love goes to the Rams at number 4. I got an ask to Albert to just run down the top 10 picks in my mock and in your mock. And I think that's a great idea. Albert has Mendoza to the Raiders at 1, Bailey to the Jets at 2, Love to the Cardinals at 3, Reese to the Titans at 4, Tate to the Giants at 5, Spencer Fano to the Browns at 6, Sonny Styles to the Commanders at 7, Mansour Delane to the Saints at 8, Jordan Tyson to the Chiefs at 9, and the Giants via the Bengals, Caleb Downs at 10. My mock draft, just a little bit different. We have Mendoza going to the Raiders at 1, David Bailey 2, Arvell Reese to the Cowboys via the Cardinals at 3, Jeremiah Love to the Rams via the Titans at 4, Sonny Styles to the Giants at 5, Noah to the Chiefs at 6 in a trade up with the Browns. Washington Commanders taking Carnell Tate at 7, 8, Mansour Delane to the New Orleans Saints, 9, Fano to the Browns, and 10, Ione from Penn State to the Giants. I really like that pairing. I'm dying to know what the Giants do with these 2 picks. I know that we got the Jets on next, but and legit, let's stay there because we can get to the Giants. We're going to be talking about the Giants all night. The draft really starts here. And I think that there's all this posturing and all this. We can say what we think the team's going to go this way, that way. The Jets could do a couple of ridiculous things right now. I know it's probably between 2 players. They really need to fix that defense for Aaron Glenn. But I think that this has some ripple effects in terms of how much power does Aaron Glenn have moving forward, right? What is his individual decision-making ability versus what the Jets are going to try to do for the long term? They have so many picks. Glenn had such a bad first year. I'm really dying to know what they do here.
Yeah, I think it's so, like, to me, hold on one second.
It's called the green room, by the way, now that Albert's texting, and it's actually green, which is wild. So while the prospects are sitting there, they're just bathed in this strange green light, like it's outside your high school drug dealer's house. So it's kind of wild.
I think so. I think so much of this for the Jets is about, and I've said this before, I think it's about providing hope. And I think it's providing hope for ownership. There's a job security element there that I think we've all talked about. But, you think about the way their season ended, right? I think Aaron Glenn did a fantastic job, and David Bailey is the 2nd overall pick.
Tipping it here, baby. Let's go.
David Bailey is a New York Jet. Hold on one second. Let's retweet that really quick. We're talking David Bailey now. Bailey. Give me one second. Bailey.
Welcome in, everybody that's coming. I think while you're doing this, Albert.
So David Bailey's a New York Jet. And again, like, that's what I was getting to here was he provides hope. Right. Like, and I think what this is about, if you look at the way the Jets season ended, Aaron Glenn, I think, did a really good job of keeping everybody on board. That's his strength, his leadership. Right. But they lost their last 5 games in a row. They got blown out in the finale against the backups for the Buffalo Bills. Okay. Not good. And if you look at the Lions, like when Aaron Glenn was at the Lions, right, what they were able to do at the end of those seasons was provide that sort of hope. So they started, I believe it was like 10-1 that first year in Detroit, but they finished 3-3. They started 1-6 the second year. They finished the season at 9-8. So, like, there was this light at the end of the tunnel. And I think that's the one thing that Aaron Glenn wasn't able to give them. And this is going to be a little bit of a rebuilding year, right? They've got 3 first-round picks next year. They've got a bridge quarterback in Geno Smith. I don't think they're going to come away with their quarterback of the future this weekend. So how do you provide hope for the people in the locker room? Because the people in the locker room don't care about your 3-year plan. And I think that, to me, was the tiebreaker between Reese and Bailey for them, is Bailey is more apt to give them the help that they need right now. And so what do I mean by that? Well, if the players look over and see David Bailey's got 13 sacks, it's like, man, the guys in charge here know what they're doing.
Right.
There's something good building here.
Right.
And I think that they need to create that sort of hope. And so I think David Bailey gives them a better chance to do that than maybe anybody else outside of Jeremiah Love, which was never going to happen here. They're not at the stage to take a running back, and they got Breece Hall on the franchise tag. So I think it's a smart pick. I think it's the right pick. And yeah, David Bailey's a Jet.
David Bailey's a Jet. By the way, I mean, we're talking about this again. Like Mendoza, David Bailey had one of the greatest pass rush seasons for an NCAA pass rusher since, like, Myles Garrett, if you look at the analytics on this. So it's not like it's a horrendous pick. I mean, David Bailey's probably a top 5 pick in most of the drafts that we're talking about. And again, if you're with us on SITV, we're going to send you guys to a quick commercial break. Thanks for hanging out with us. Stick with us here on YouTube. We're going to keep rolling. Again, I think I look at these number 1 and these number 2 picks, Albert, as maybe not number 1 and number 2 picks in every draft, but in most drafts, these are going to be top 8 picks. I don't think that that's an outrageous thought, right? I think David Bailey is a top 8 edge rusher. I think Fernando Mendoza is a top 8 quarterback. And I think this is a situation where if you're the Jets, Arvell Reese, and I used to cover the Jets. That was my first job, right? So I came in right on the heels of the Vernon Golston era. I was there for the Quentin Coples era. I was there for all of these mismatched pass
Quentin
rushers.
Coples era.
The Quentin Coples era.
I don't think anybody's put those 3 words consecutively.
But the truth is, and Jets fans know this, right? The truth is that they drafted a bunch of unorthodox pass rushers over the years. They just have. And it's been since, I don't know, Sean Ellis, since they've had that stable guy on the edge who's been able to transcend several different generations of Jets play. And I guess you could say, whatever, they had Muhammad Wilkerson, who was really good for a while and then just kind of fell off a cliff. But I think David Bailey was the right move. Arvell Reese, again, like you said it, Albert, could be Micah Parsons. And you talked about this on the podcast all the time. He could be Micah Parsons. But you have something in your hands right now in David Bailey that you already know what he is. And speaking of the podcast, before we move on to the next thing, Albert and I, twice a week, host the MMQB podcast on Sports Illustrated. It's been going on for more than a decade through various iterations, but we're very proud of the history and the lineage of this show. So many great hosts, and we're so happy to be a part of it. Please subscribe to the MMQB podcast, subscribe to the Sports Illustrated YouTube channel, and especially find us on Apple. Leave us a rating and review if you like it, because I saw this comment, Albert, and I really love this, from Mike Honcho Playgirl. I've somehow gone all these years without seeing Conor or Albert's faces. Listening to the draft with SI stream of consciousness is pleasant so far. This is the first time that someone who has not seen my face forever and has seen it for the first time has described it as pleasant. That's great. I'm feeling great. This is awesome. I mean, this couldn't be going any better. We got Charlie Yarigo, who says, or for Secretary of Transportation. I don't know where that came from, but if elected, will serve. Charlie Yarigo also said Breer for president. Okay, so I think that's it. They want you to be president, and then I'm somehow serving in your cabinet. They probably like your platform on pick tipping, is my guess.
Mm-hmm. Now we're really rolling. It was a little bit of a touch and go start there with me and the technology, but I overcame it with some real resilience.
That's really what it comes down to. If people don't know Albert Breer's backstory, growing up in Worcester, him and his friends had to rob banks in order to get by, and then sports writing and working at the Boston Globe pulled him out of this life of crime.
I'm not from Worcester. Nobody who's from where I'm from has that accent, just to be clear. Nobody has any accent.
I thought about when we got to the peak live stream, just introducing that as part of your backstory and seeing if it essentially stuck, where it was like, okay, Breer was one of the extras in the town and we just didn't know about it. And that's not true, by the way. The Cardinals, I can't wait to see what the Cardinals do here, because as a preamble to this, I think if you're reading through all the draft tea leaves, the Cardinals have donned a lot of hats, okay? And what they've done is essentially, we're going to take Arvell Reese here because I think they thought other people wanted him, right? And then no one was coming up. And now over the past week, the tenor's changed to, we really like Jeremiah Love. And I think that's like, will someone please, God, come up here?
Jeremiah Love is an Arizona Cardinal.
To the Cardinals. Oh, all right.
No, Arizona.
Not to the Rams. All right.
Yeah. So there we go. I'm 3 for 3. Let's go. Let's go.
Right, I'm 2 for 3. Not feeling too good about the way this is going so far, but brought a little prop, Albert. Check this out. You watching? Look at this, baby. Got an All You Need Is Love shirt. I'm a Notre Dame fan. I mean, I can't let it go, right? This is my guy. Yep. I'm really happy for Jeremiah Love. If you're a subscriber to Sports Illustrated magazine, which you should be, what are you doing here if you're not? I profiled Jeremiah Love for the draft preview issue. I think he's exceptional. This is a great time, Albert, I think, to get into the positional value debate, because I have a little bit of a rant on this, okay? And it's actually going to be posting as we speak. I think the fact that we are talking about this is largely insane. And the reason why is because we have baseballified ourselves to the point where we can't have interesting conversations about just taking good players. And my take here is that, like, during the Moneyball era, we started glorifying GMs for getting good players for less money. And that somehow became the focus of praise instead of just getting good players, right? And I think that we're doing that now in football, because we're talking a lot about Jeremiah Love. And okay, now that the Cardinals have drafted him, which is official, we beat you to it, Roger Goodell. Look at him walking to the podium. He doesn't know that we know, but we know. by taking Jeremiah Love here, they've already made him the 7th highest paid running back in the NFL. And he already has the most guaranteed money for running back in NFL history. My rebuttal to that is like, I don't care. And that shouldn't matter. Any team with even a relatively healthy salary cap situation can overcome paying a running back slightly more than other good running backs, right? I mean, like at the end of the day, we went into this crisis of positional value. It's not going to matter if this guy's good.
Here's my argument on this, right? Like, so I'm going to take you back 2 years to the offseason of 2024. And I remember Derrick Henry, Saquon Barkley, Josh Jacobs all being free agents. And those 3 guys signed with the Eagles, the Packers, and the Ravens. And I remember having the thought, right? It was like, those aren't stupid teams.
Right.
Those teams are not like those aren't teams that like where everybody's gonna be fired in 18 months. You know what I mean? So like I remember having that thought, like that's interesting that like smart teams did this. And I think it's sort of become the running back position has been devalued to the point where now it's a value, right? Mm-hmm. Even when you extend them. And the point was Saquon Barkley signed that offseason for around the same number that Darnell Mooney got in Atlanta. Think about that.
Right.
Like, I mean, it's just even if like the 3rd year of a 3-year deal isn't as good as you had hoped, like you're still getting a really good player and a high volume player that's going to touch the ball a lot, you know? And so like I do think like in a situation like this, getting somebody like Jeremiah Love, it does give you hope. My question would be how it matches up with their timeline, right? Because they don't have their quarterback yet. Maybe that's coming tomorrow night.
Maybe it's coming tonight.
Maybe it's coming tonight. We'll see. But I think like the positional value thing's really interesting. I think we're going to see a player from my alma mater coming next, by the way, who I believe would be the 96th Ohio State player selected in the 1st round.
You just came with that little
I don't
your little lapel pocket, didn't you?
I'm almost positive it's either going to be Arvell Reese or Sonny Styles. I will say that. Almost positive.
You know who I almost think is happy about this? And I think if you're Robert Saleh, this played out in a way that allowed you to make the most sensible pick for you. And I think that what we've heard about the Titans going into this is there is an undeniable pressure to start selling season tickets for this stadium that's about to open next year, right? And if it's a middle linebacker, if it's an edge rusher, whoever it is, if it's Reese, and I'm guessing it's probably Reese, and if it's not Reese, it's Sonny Styles. What's that?
I think Tate would be a wild card here, but
Tate would be a wild
I know they
card.
like Tate. I know they like Tate, but I think my guess would be Reese or Styles.
So if it's Reese or if it's Sonny Styles,
and I put Reese in the mock draft because I think Robert Saleh views Reese. This is my projection. I think he views Reese as somebody who can fundamentally change their defense.
Yeah, and I think that going into this, Saleh knew that they needed players across the board. I also think that Saleh had an inherent confidence that he could probably make it work defensively with what he had. But this allows him to take a weapon without anybody.
Carnell Tate.
Wow.
Yeah, Carnell Tate.
Wow.
How about that?
Now we're cooking.
Yeah.
That's crazy. All right.
That's we have our first real curveball.
Albert, we talked about Carnell Tate, the wide receiver out of Ohio State, on the podcast. And I think what's interesting about Tate is the fact that he was always wide receiver 1 going into this draft. And I think what happens sometimes is, he's good. He's excellent. He's always been excellent. And so what happens is he just gets kind of accidentally pushed down the draft board because we're just, there's nothing new about him. We know he's good. Carnell Tate's a great blocker. He's very physical. He's really great at getting you those first down catches. And I think that that's important for someone like Cam Ward. He's going to be a guy that's just going to be there for him. And I think that we watched Cam Ward try to function in that offense last year without any help from a weapons perspective.
And the Giants, ready for this? Arvell Reese.
Wow.
At 5.
Holy smokes. That's wild.
Okay. I gotta retweet something here from my hearing column.
retweet also the live stream and let people know.
In here, we have the
explanation.
In here.
We got everything going on. So while Albert's doing that, I'm going to dive into the comments here for a second. I see Pat DK wants the Cardinals then to trade back up and to get Ty Simpson. Coates 8885. Who did the Titans take? The Titans took Carnell Tate out of Ohio State, and the Giants are right behind them with Arvell Reese at pick 5. I guess I just kind of thought of this, Albert. The Giants now have Brian Burns.
Okay, so I'm going to explain this here.
Abdul Carter. I think this has to mean that Kayvon Thibodeau's traded during the draft, right? He has to be traded during the draft.
Yeah.
Wow. Take Conor Orr's mock draft, pull out your Zippo, and light that baby on fire. Sorry, Jamie Erdahl from NFL Network. I'm probably going to get like 2 right in the first round. If the Vikings don't draft Thieneman from Oregon, I'm absolute burnt toast. This has to mean Kayvon Thibodeau's gone, right?
Huh?
This has to mean that Thibodeau's gone. Unless you're going to play him as a true off-ball linebacker, and we're talking about Arvell Reese, who again, this is why you're here. This is why you're on YouTube with us at Sports Illustrated. We are 2 picks ahead of the NFL.
Oh, wait, Reese not official yet? Hold on. Hang on. Now I'm texting with people here. Hang on.
While we get that clarified, let's reset, and we'll get to the Giants in a second. I still think that Carnell Tate is an interesting move. I mean, Sonny Styles.
I'm gonna get my confirmation here. Hold on.
Let's get a confirmation here on Arvell Reese. This is live radio. Don't you love this? It's beautiful. Carnell Tate is the kind of wide receiver that I think can plug into that offense and make a change in a way that maybe Sonny Styles couldn't. And we heard the Fred Warner comps, which I think were driven also a little bit by the fact that this was a Robert Saleh team that had the vacancy. I think Sonny Styles ends up going to the Commanders at this point, if this is how the board is shaking out. But this is wild to me. Let's dip into the comments here for a second. Again, Mr. Schizo, 1996, Kayvon Thibodeau may be gone soon. I totally agree. Well played, Giants, first, last, BN6NL. I don't know if that's I don't know if that's sarcastic or not, but I'm really excited to get to this Giants pick when we're going. Are you surprised, though? I mean, we just talked about this leading up to it. You had the Titans going defense. I had the Titans going defense if they didn't take Jeremiah Love. I mean, I don't know. This one's
Reese is official now. Sorry about that. Reese is official now. Yeah. So I'm getting information really. But it's official now. Reese is official. So he is the 5th pick to the Giants. Now I can explain this. So, like, if you watch Reese at Ohio State, okay, who is now officially the 97th first-round pick in Ohio State history.
Shut up.
Cue the fight song. No, I think what you want to look at is how Matt Patricia uses him, right? And Matt Patricia used him in what's called the buck linebacker role, which that's what Jamie Collins played when they were winning Super Bowls. And it's a off the ball linebacker on early downs and on the ball line, and he's playing in the nickel. And I think that is probably the best way to use him. And I think, you look at this now, and they have multiple guys who can do that, because Abdul Carter can do that too. Right. So now we're talking about this, like this front with these guys, and Burns has got some versatility. So having those guys up front is going to give John Harbaugh a million options. John Harbaugh and Denard Wilson, a million options. So I think the idea of this is I really, I think this is the one. I think this is excellent. I love the creativity in it. I think it's going to be, it's pretty good.
No disrespect to the Titans. I'll circle back around here in a minute on them, but I do want to piggyback off your point now, Albert, because what did we see from the Seahawks in the Super Bowl? What did we see from the Broncos leading up to the Super Bowl? It's not necessarily one elite dog pass rusher. It is 5 or 6 guys that are going to muddy the picture for the quarterback. And it probably helps you it helps you overcome a lack of strength on the interior because you have a couple of these edge guys who can line up in different positions, who can attack from the interior or the exterior. And that's really this simulated pressure era, this kind of psycho defense era. I think the reselection makes a lot of sense. Again, I would be surprised if Thibodeau isn't gone, because you can remember John Harbaugh talked about how much he wanted Dexter Lawrence to stay, and the Giants ended up trading him. With Kayvon Thibodeau, when Harbaugh was asked about him, he said, well, everybody's tradable. And so I think that was, kind of tipping his hand a little bit to let everybody know that he's available. I wouldn't be surprised if Thibodeau maybe even goes day 2. This isn't a guy that you're going to recoup a first-round pick for. I think if you were to ask the Giants and kind of hold them under, truth serum, that they would say he was probably not a top 10 guy. But just the way that the draft rolled out and the way that it broke down, they ended up taking him a little bit higher than he probably deserved to go.
So the I'm working on this. Like the Browns, maybe they may be trading down. So you guys get to see the sausage made here, I guess.
This is wild, by the way. So Albert is in a TV
Browns
studio.
Are trading down. The Browns are trading down.
All right. Who do we got?
The Chiefs, I believe, are coming up.
I had that. Let's go. Come on. If it's for Maui Noah, I win the mock draft. Come on. I had the Chiefs trading up for Maui Noah. Now, who do you think it would be now?
Hang on. So we're going to get the terms here.
Oh, baby. Chiefs are coming up, baby. This was the theory.
Okay, right? So the Chiefs are trading the 9th overall pick to the Browns. Hold on. The 9th overall pick, a 3rd and a 5th. A 3rd round pick and a 5th round pick to the Browns for the 6th overall pick.
If they take Maui Noah, I might still do a naked lap. You might still have to hold the reins on that one. I'd be pretty proud of my mock draft if that happened. What do you think this is for, Albert? Do we think a wide receiver?
I think it's Tyson. I think the 3rd round pick.
All right, 1 second, Albert. If you're with us on SITV.
Delane.
Wow. Okay. Mansour Delane to the Chiefs. If you guys are with us on SITV, we're kicking it to a commercial break. Stay with us here on YouTube.
The Chiefs are taking the Chiefs.
Wow. Mansour Delane
are going up for LSU cornerback Mansour Delane.
Wow.
Delane, the 3rd rounder. Hold on. Rounder is 74th overall. 74th overall.
If you want to be a sports writer, this is largely what it looks like. Except we don't always read it aloud to ourselves. Maybe Albert does. He's a reader to himself kind of guy. This is one of those situations. Albert
Lane is a Chief. Hopefully,
look at this hustle, baby. Look at this hustle.
Yeah,
you love it. I think if we were reading,
this is exhilarating, right?
It is.
So they go up to get Delane. I think that they were concerned that the Saints were going to take Delane. So they go up, they get Delane. And so now, so Cleveland versus So it's the terms are now official. This is something else. So Delane's a Chief. That replaces Trent McDuffie.
Right.
I think, again, the idea was to get in front of New Orleans, which they were able to accomplish. So that now puts the Commanders on the clock. Sonny Styles is there. Jordan Tyson's there. My guess would be it'd be one of those two.
I think it's got to be Dan Quinn's going defense here. I have to believe he is. I mean, that defense was abysmal last year. He needs something there, right? Let's dive into the comments here in a second. Avery Marin, the Chiefs should have gone offensive tackle. No, it's so I think, if you guys at the beginning of the show, and we talked a little bit about Mike Vrabel, but before we pivoted to the draft, Albert made that point, and we were talking about this a little bit on the Monday morning quarterback podcast too. When there's so much attrition to the other cornerbacks in this draft, and you have arguably the second best cornerback have an injury issue that knocks him out of the first round potentially altogether, I think that improves Delane's value to the point where if you need a replacement, and the Chiefs have lost a lot of guns in that
to
secondary,
me,
you need to get that guy.
To me, this is 100% the Jermod McCoy effect. Jermod McCoy was right there with Mansour Delane to be the number one corner in the class. McCoy's knee injury, which is it's not a question of whether or not he's gonna be ready to go now. It's a question of the longevity, right? Like how does he shape up from a longevity standpoint? Teams view him as a one contract guy. A lot of teams do. Mm-hmm. Which I think might drop him all the way out of the first round. So the effect there is that they have I don't know why Emily texted me, Arbel. So I get texts on who's
Albert's wife is texting him that
Emily
Giants drafted
Arbel. So anyway,
she's still Albert's wife is still ahead.
I wasn't expecting that, but hi Emily, hi Drew, hi Steve, hi Jenny,
buddy.
If you guys are on there. So yeah, like I think what the injury to McCoy did was it crystallized the corner class. So you have all the way up at the top Delane, who's all alone. So if you wanted the best corner in the class, that's where you were. It was Delane and then a drop off. The next guy is Colton Hood, who I think probably would have been someone that maybe the Chiefs would have been comfortable taking at 29, but isn't the player that Delane is. And then if you want to look at the next group, you're talking about Brandon Cisse, South Carolina, Chris Johnson from San Diego State, Avion Terrell from Clemson. And so clearly the Chiefs saw Mansour Delane as just being a cut above everybody else. And now they get what they have with Trent McDuffie, which is a potential number one corner on a rookie contract. And I think in an offseason where we could see like Christian Gonzalez and Devin Witherspoon get like $35 million per year, the value of having a corner on a contract like that, especially when you're paying a quarterback the way the Chiefs are, Patrick Mahomes, is really important. And they come away from this, by the way, this is important too. They still have 29 intact. Intact.
Yeah. In the comments, I think Mariana Chicago made a good point. The Chiefs jumping the Saints once again, this time for Delane instead of Patrick Mahomes. A little bit of a sordid history there. Probably some Saints fans feeling a little chapped about it. Romer 12, this is better than the TV broadcast. Thank you. Thank you. That's what I'm talking about. This is the only way to watch the draft, says TH Sates. Hey, I think so too. That's why we're here. We love you guys. We appreciate you doing this. And if you like this, by the way, this is just a more chaotic version of the MMQB podcast, which you can download. You can subscribe to, leave us a rating and review on Apple Podcasts. We really appreciate it. We knew who the top 10 guys were going to be out there.
Is a Washington Commander.
Okay. Sonny Styles to the Commanders. I think that
I got that one right. So I have 4 right now. I'm happy.
My mock draft is in a goddamn free fall. I mean, let's be real. I had Carnell Tate to the Commanders.
That, by the way, is the 98th Buckeye to go in the first round.
Are there any more?
Interesting subplot that may only interest me, right? Is Caden McDonald may go in the first round, he may not. But we're going to get to 99 Buckeyes tonight. If McDonald doesn't go, you know who the 100th one is going to be?
Who?
Jeremiah Smith.
Oh. Well, he might be overrated. We don't know. There's still time. Notre Dame's going to win the national championship anyway.
How dare
Martin Haldane working the night shift in Scotland and listening. Yeah, baby. Martin, thank you so much. Listen, all of you guys who are in here, we appreciate it more than you ever know. This is a live version of the MMQB podcast. Albert is tipping picks like a madman. I'm watching him sweat like it's great. Like that suit just can't contain it, you know? He's just pouring sweat. He's popping Altoids.
I need to go with the worn out Wall Street look, right?
Yeah.
Like the worn out,
I loved, there was nothing better than.
Like I'm at Merrill Lynch in the 80s, right?
Albert is the Wolf of Wall Street. Andy Reid with a Hawaiian shirt in the draft room, by the way. And then Brett Veach with that typical checkered jacket. Very classy look from Brett Veach there. It's always great when you're a journalist. You know what happens is when you get to walk back into the newsroom with the tie undone, that's usually like kind of like Spike in the football. It's like I went out there and I discovered that President Nixon was doing whatever he did with Watergate. I don't know what happened there, but you get to walk back into the newsroom with the little tie affixed like that. Maybe we're going to have a little Breer tie watch here. We got tie. We got one button. We got a couple people tracking that update too in the comments section, which is very exciting.
Just a little bit like I want to give you guys some background here, and so I think there's some interesting kind of things that we're going to be able to give you. I look at so like just with the Jets on Bailey, just going back, and I said I'd give you guys some stuff from the war room. They view Bailey like the thing that was like the separator for them on Bailey, best pass rusher in the draft. His analytics were really good. I think we've talked about that. The advanced stats were really good on him, and they felt like he was the cleanest guy. Like it was the cleanest translation from college to the NFL. So that was really what was a tiebreaker for them. I'm working on Mansour a little bit here too. Get you guys a little bit more on what the Chiefs like there. It's interesting too, because I don't have the draft value chart up, but I think the Browns took a little bit of a discount here. And I think maybe it's because it'll be interesting to see if Spencer Fano is the name here. Because I had heard the Browns were aggressive. I think I had it in my column. The Browns were aggressive about the idea of moving down and were working to move down. And so like I think they may have taken a little bit less. If we pull up the draft value chart, I'm just going to pull that up, right? So, and I don't blame Andrew Berry for doing this, by the way. They need to add young talent,
Right.
But if you look at the draft value chart, there is and I'm going to pull it up here. So there is the point difference is 250, right? So,
which for perspective, right? At 250 in a point differential in a draft value chart is like, isn't that like a fifth or a sixth round pick?
I was wrong. You know what? No, I was wrong. Like that's a high third round pick. So like a high third round.
That's more than I thought it was.
Yeah, I like so. So maybe this is actually a little more fair than I would have given it credit for. I think this is probably right around where that number should have been.
This is great, by the way, Albert. So we have like a wardrobe update while you're doing this, and PQ190 wants to know if your wife picks out your suit and tie, but then Velvet Thunder 94 said, I know that Connor's children pick his wardrobe. I know I trust
my wife is in Florida.
And then there's a request, Albert. Will you pull a Ben Johnson?
A little bit more on Delane. Why they like Delane?
Okay.
From Chiefs people. Smart, talented corner, fits Spags scheme, can play press man, tough, aggressive. So sounds like a lot of the things you would say about Trent McDuffie, and that's who they're replacing here. And I think it's like a huge piece of it is like what you're looking for and how you build your team. What can you replace? I think we know they really trust Spags and Dave Merritt to develop the position. They've done a good job there, obviously. And the young guys that they've had and coming through there, and you guys like Trent McDuffie, Jalen Watson does a big deal with the Rams. So, this is someone they can put in that room. And just like Trent McDuffie, like he's got a lot of those qualities. And I look at the return here. If he becomes the number one corner for you, I think he's like the one corner in this draft that projects that way. Probably worth giving up the third and fifth round pick to go and get him.
So we have, just in case you guys, I want to bring you back in that frantic kind of couple picks there, because we had the trade. The Commanders are taking Sonny Styles at 7, and now we're waiting on the New Orleans Saints. And God, I can't stop thinking now, Albert, about the Giants, who have to be absolutely thrilled about the way that this first round has gone so far. Arvell Reese, and again, I mean, these positions that we assign them in mock drafts.
Jordan Tyson to the Saints.
Jordan Tyson to the Saints. Okay.
So that's interesting too, because I think Jordan Tyson, like just as a receiver prospect, he may be the most physically gifted. Now there are questions about injuries that are fair questions, that are questions that you're going to want to answer, right? But like the comp I got for him was Justin Jefferson light, which should get Saints fans excited, right?
Right.
You got Chris Olave there. So maybe you pay Olave now. You need a cheaper option at the position. This guy's got the potential to be a number one receiver. And what you hear most often with him is a big guy who moves around like a little guy. And I think, now Kellen Moore has two guys on the outside I think that you can build with going forward. You hope Olave stays healthy. And then you're going to find out about Tyler Shuck now. So I think this helps you get your answer. And I look at where the Saints are, right? So they've got the tackles now in Fuaga and Banks. They've got the receivers in Olave and Tyson. They bring in Travis Etienne. I hope I pronounced that right. Sorry, Travis.
He's listening.
I'm still getting the hang of that. But you should be able to get an answer on Tyler Shuck now, right? Like you should be able to look at him and over the course of this year determine whether or not he's your future. And I think that's valuable because next year, if there are 5 or 6 quarterbacks in the first round and you're in position to maybe take one, like now, I think you have a very clear view of what you've got in Tyler Shuck, or at least you should.
Here's what I was really curious about with Tyson in particular. I thought it was a brilliant job by his agents to stage his workout so close to the draft and to legitimately create this tailwind of anticipation. I think going into the combine, coming out of the combine after bowl season and all that stuff, with all the injury concerns that we had on Jordan Tyson, maybe a 15th pick, maybe a 20th pick. It's a guy you take a gamble on in a draft like this, staging the workout. And we had a lot of GMs flying there. I mean, Joe Shane had dinner with Jordan Tyson after this workout from the Giants, and creating that sort of avalanche of hype. I think it was one of the rare cases where a decision like that did help a draft stock. And you can roll your eyes at this, but I remember, and Albert, interrupt me if we have anything going on here, but Zach Wilson was another great example of this, where there was a couple of throws that they put into the repertoire on his pro day, specifically to improve his draft stock. And it took some scouts for a ride, right? It was those off balance throws. It was those kind of sidearm throws that were going 70 yards down the field. It's Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball 75, 80 yards in his pro day. We can say it doesn't matter, and scouts can say it doesn't matter, but it does. And having Jordan Tyson work out that well, that close to the draft, absolutely mattered. And I think it brought him into the top 10.
Yeah. I think it's an important thing. And I do think again, the movement with him is the key. That's what, and you hear that from coaches a lot. And this was what got Ted McMillan into the top 10 last year. A big guy who moves like a little guy. Well, what does that mean? It means you can move him around and play him at different spots and run the full route tree with him. And that's what Justin Jefferson is. Now, when I say Justin Jefferson light, what the person who made that comment meant was he's Jefferson without quite the same run after catch. Can he stay healthy? Is he tough enough? Those are the questions. But, I think that this is a high ceiling player. And somebody that when you're, looking forward at how does this guy match up with Chris Olave? Chris Olave is a guy who can threaten the defense downfield, take the top off. And so I view this as they're complementary.
Stylistic complement. Yeah.
They're complementary. They should fit together. And I just think getting the answer on the quarterback is really important. So love the Saints doing that. Now we get the Browns coming back, and I'll be interested to see if this is Spencer Fano. That's who I mocked to them at 6.
Same. I mocked him at 9 after trading.
Now
with
he's
Chiefs.
There.
Let's go.
Imagine if they get him here, and they were going to take him at 6, then they basically got a 3rd and a 5th round pick for free, right?
Yeah. By the way, guys, if you are listening on SITV, which is another great option for us, we're going to be back in 2 minutes. Stick with us though here on YouTube. Sonny Styles, I'm going to say this, and I rarely compliment Ohio State grads, but the SS pin that he has, it's like a gold pin that has 2 S's on his lapel, is probably the sharpest thing I've seen wardrobe-wise.
Is it a personal logo, though?
It's kind of a personal logo.
I don't know if they can get behind personal logos.
I mean, if you have the alliteration, though, if you're SS, it really does look slick. I'm just saying. I mean, he looks like a guy that's going to be in the NFL for 15 years. I'm just saying. It's also a cool name when you grow up and your name is Sonny Styles and you're incredibly athletic. You just can't fail like that,
that Lorenzo Styles Sr. was a starting linebacker with Mike Vrabel as one of the defensive ends. Yeah.
That's wild.
I remember thinking like that was something that I kind of filed away, you know, at the beginning of the year because I didn't know Styles was going to go this high. Spencer Fano is a Cleveland.
Boom! All right, let's
Nailed
go.
that one.
Okay.
Yeah. So Spencer Fano is a Cleveland Brown. You know, this is one that sort of I think came together. Fano is a guy who can play all 5 positions. I think the Browns come into the draft wanting to take care of both receiver and tackle. And so now they got the tackle need taken care of. They've got the extra 3rd round pick. Really like Andrew Berry, like getting the player that I think he would have taken at 6 anyway. And I'm gonna, but I think this is I like this pick.
Okay, so according to the official mock draft battle rules that I've constructed to grade your and I's rubric, Albert, because I had the Browns trading down with the Chiefs to take Spencer Fano, that is a 3,000 point bonus, and I'm currently in the lead, even though you have more correct picks.
Okay, the Browns were going to take Spencer Fano at 6. I've been told.
That's interesting because there were some short arm concerns with him now, and we're coming off of a Super Bowl where the Will Campbell thing and the short arm effect was never more amplified than in that exact moment at the Super Bowl, right?
Give me 1 second.
And I'll filibuster in this way. Spencer Fano can play several different positions. Cleveland losing Wyatt Teller and Joel Bitonio is not just a talent drop off. It is a core identity ethos drop off. I mean, Joel Bitonio represented the Browns offensively in a way that probably Myles Garrett even didn't defensively. Kind of a heart and soul guy there. And so I think Fano is sort of it's more than just a pick schematically. Like this is the new heartbeat of our offensive line kind of guy.
Yeah. So this is an excellent, I mean, I just think it's, you know, when the Browns have been good, and over the last couple of years, they have had their upticks. They've been good on the offensive line.
Right.
And I think if you look at 2020, and that was probably their peak, they win a football game. They win a football game. Yeah. They win a playoff game. You know, I look at it as that was a result of finally fixing their offensive line. So that was the year they went and signed Jack Conklin. They drafted Jedrick Wills, who I think was pretty good as a rookie. You had Teller there. You know, I think you still had J.C. Treader at center. So they had that was kind of the key, and that eroded. And so now they bring in Zion Johnson. They trade for Titus Howard. They bring back, you know, they bring back DeJuan Jones. We'll see what happens with him. They've got pieces to work with now, and I think Fano is ideal for them because he allows you to move other guys around, right? So, like you assume Tevin Jenkins and Zion Johnson are going to be the guards, but you know, could you play with the idea? I've heard of like teams talking about playing either of those guys at center. Could one of those guys go to center and Fano go to guard, and then DeJuan Jones and Titus Howard are the tackles? You have, you know, there's just so many things you can do with him because he can play all 5 positions, and he's safe. And the Giants have selected Francis Maui-Noah.
Wow.
From the University of Miami. So, like, now we're starting to see the linemen come off. And
I thought that was going to be Downs there. I really did.
So Francis Maui-Noah from the University of Miami. Here's my question. Do you play him at guard?
Because and we talked about this. Actually, it was an interesting discussion. We had a couple of episodes ago on the MMQB podcast, was that they have their tackles right now, but the right tackle position is sort of it's a Band-Aid, or you're projecting almost the fact that this guy's going to be good enough to hold it down for a year. Maui-Noah, like Penei Sewell graduating to your left tackle, I think is eventually going to graduate to your right tackle. But I wouldn't be surprised if he starts at guard. That's why I thought they were going to take Ione out of Penn State here, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, and I think Ione. We're going to pronounce his name 16 different ways tonight. So just so everybody knows, Vega Ione. I'm not going to try the full version of his first name, but I think it's like if you look at him, like he I think bring some of the stuff that Ione would bring at guard, and then you eventually move him out to tackle. And like you have your bookends then with Andrew Thomas and Maui Noah. The drawback with that Maui Noah is I don't think he's left tackle. So like that, I'm assuming for the Browns, that was probably one of the tiebreakers is that you feel like Fano's capable of playing left tackle. Maybe Maui Noah isn't. They were both right tackles in college. So like I see this happening. I see this. I see this as a move to finally fix what's been a trouble area for the Giants forever.
I mean, that's why that was why they pivoted to David Gettleman as GM even before Joe Shane, right? David Gettleman was supposed to do what he did in Carolina, fix the offensive line, and create this kind of road grader mentality. And he took a lot of bites at that apple, man. I mean, really took a lot of swings at that. Joe Shane took a lot of swings at that. I mean, this is Evan Neal. There's so many kind of this Giants offensive line graveyard. John Michael Schmitz. I mean, all of these guys. But I think Maui Noah. Are you concerned at all about the herniated disc deal? Like, do you think this is a situation where we'll see him?
Here's the deal with the back injury. So this is a decision the Giants are now going to have to make. Do you have him get surgery now and he's out for 3 months, right? Mm-hmm. So get surgery now. Maybe he's back early August, and then like he's got to get his playing strength back, and maybe he's a little less as a rookie than you would have liked. Or do you put the surgery off until after the season? The risk being that it flares up, and the risk being that the injury flares up. And if the injury flares up, then you lose him for his entire rookie year.
Right.
So like that's the equation here. It's not an acute injury. It's not something that like is causing him a bunch of pain. Like he's asymptomatic, is my understanding. But it is something that's eventually going to need to be taken care of. And a back with a big man, I mean, obviously that's a little problematic. But this is a dominant player. I mean, he was a starter at Miami from the minute he walked onto campus. I believe you look this up. I think the number's 42 starts. Was a rock for a Miami team that played for the national championship. So to me, like I think this is a safe pick. I think you're going to get a good player. You know, like I think that's really, and I think Fano is the same way, by the way. I think that the reason these two guys are the top two linemen is because they're the safest. You know, with Freeling, with Lomu, you've got Raw. With Proctor, you've got like a little bit of a football character question. Blake Miller, maybe he's just a right tackle, and Max Ahenachor is Raw. So these two guys were the guys where it's like plug and play, good player. Maybe they're not everything that you want from a talent perspective, but they're ready to go. And so I think it's that one to me, like Maui Noah makes a ton of sense for a team trying to get its offensive line right.
You know what's interesting about Maui Noah too is the fact that I think one of his best strengths is that play quickness, and it makes him really good on combo blocks. And this is the one chance, because Breer was a high school quarterback. I was a reserve offensive lineman. If you're a great combo blocker, okay, and especially if you're kicking into guard because you have a Luminor on the right side. Let's say Maui Noah is playing guard on either side of John Michael Schmitz, who's still kind of going in here with the possibility of being your center, and maybe they'll try to revive him here. I think it's one of these situations where Maui Noah makes the guy next to him better. You know what I mean? Maui Noah can elevate the worst parts of your offensive line right away, especially at guard. And I love the idea of moving him around. But I think he's super aggressive. I think he's quick. I think he's all over the place in terms of just this, like, I don't know. He's got that punch. Everything comes with just like a ferociousness when you watch Maui Noah come off the ball. And when is the last time we said that, Albert, about a Giants offensive lineman?
And that's why Ione was seen as such a fit, is because he's the same type of guy.
Same. That's why I had him there.
It's a Greg Roman offensive lineman. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like, I think that's really kind of what it boils down to. Matt Nagy's the OC there. Greg Roman's going to be putting together the run game. And, like, this is something to help your young quarterback with. Now, I think receiver was definitely in play for the Giants. So, you're talking Tate, Tyson. Like, I think those guys were in play. I don't think they expected Arvell Reese to be there.
I don't either.
5. And so Reese gets to them at 5. And now, okay, like, what do we do to help our young quarterback? And I just think at this point, it was maybe a little bit more, we can help our offensive line at 10 in a way we won't be able to later in the draft. They don't have a 3, right? They've got a 2, but not a 3. they can probably get a pretty good receiver in the second round.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the equation, is the tackles are going to be gone by then, right? So you're going to be talking about a much lesser offensive lineman, whereas like the receiver class, like you could wind up with a Zachariah Branch, say at the top of the second round. So I would think maybe receiver would be on their radar there, because Malik Neighbors still coming back off the injury. I think you'd like to kind of give Jackson Dart somebody that he can grow with. So I think they'll address receiver somewhere. I think it was a consideration here, but Reese being available at 5 was an unforeseen circumstance.
Joe Shane, I think, the only GM in NFL history to make 2 double first rounds. And I mean, he had a triple under his belt too. But this is going to be such a defining era of Giants football, because the reset comes with John Harbaugh being allowed to take another edge rusher. And I know you did a great job a couple minutes ago illustrating the difference here with Arvell Reese, who can play off ball on your first and second down and then convert to that edge rusher on third down, which gives them a lot of flexibility. But being able to take another edge rusher and then making that stamp on the offensive line, we could go through any Harbaugh scenario and make it seem like a Harbaugh specific pick and kind of fit our narrative to move in place there. But I think that this
Caleb Downs to Dallas.
Oh,
hold on.
Beep, 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 beep. I like the Albert Breer phone dinging thing. I think it's awesome. I do.
Did Dallas trade up?
I saw because
Dallas is trading up for Caleb Downs.
So they're moving up 1 pick
and drafting Ohio State safety.
So the Cowboys are up. If you're just with us, Francis Maui-Noah to the Giants at 10. And then at 11, the Dallas Cowboys trading up with the Miami Dolphins for Caleb Downs. I had Downs going to in that 11th pick spot in my mock draft. I had the Eagles coming up to get him there. Interesting for Dallas. I mean, Christian Parker coming in as the new defensive coordinator outside of Brandon Staley is probably your truest Vic Fangio disciple. He's been with Fangio in multiple locations, and we saw the effect of that multiple safety look that it had in Philadelphia. The Giants, the Cowboys need to recreate something like that.
Let me just tell you that like Caleb Downs is one of my favorite football players I've ever rooted for. This is a battleship commander. Like I think Nick Saban made so hang on a second. I'm going to read this quote to you from someone today. This is from a head coach. If I had to take the best odds for a gold jacket, I'd put it on him.
Wow.
Yeah. So I'm going to tweet that out. One head coach earlier today.
By the way, I don't know if the meme on Twitter where it's like the exhausted fast food worker who's like on a smoke break and is just slumped down. Jermaine Illuminor tweeted that and said, "I can't believe we drafted another edge rusher," which I think was very funny about Arvell Reese. The Cowboys' defensive transformation has been fascinating. And I think that Parker, here's the thing about Brian Schottenheimer. I was not a fan of that hire. I think you can be not a fan of the hire, but you can also be incredibly impressed with everything that he's done from a coach and coordinator standpoint. And moving on from Matt Eberflus, I think very quickly, because Eberflus was there, I think, to give him a little bit of a leg up and bring that head coaching experience. But Clayton Adams, pivoting to Clayton Adams as an offensive coordinator, I thought was brilliant. Bringing in Christian Parker showed, I think, knowledge of just like who knows ball in this modern era. Who are some of the young guys that are going to rise and are going to be great head coaches? And so to provide Parker with someone like Downs, I think is a slam dunk. And I rarely say that about the Cowboys. I am like Cowboy praise agnostic, but I really do think that this was a good pick for them. If you go back and you look at like the historical failures of this defense a year ago, and the fact that this team gave up almost 500 passing yards to Russell Wilson.
Dallas has traded the pick. Okay, so Dallas traded 2 5th rounders 170 and 178, or 177 and 180. The Cowboys traded the two fifth rounders.
So here's a quick point, Albert. I
Yeah.
think that we're seeing, and because the Browns got the downside of this on the pick value chart, I think this seems light even to move up for the Cowboys, because I think a couple teams were interested in downs and getting up there. Is one of our initial takes on this that trading up is happening at a discount? Do you think that that's happening? Because I think I see that, right? Where the Browns lost a little bit on that Chiefs trade. When you look at a traditional draft pick value chart, which you can find them anywhere on Google. But I do think that teams are maybe starting to get the idea that you can trade up. It's not that expensive. I mean, we really don't want, we really don't need this pick. Well, they need the pick. But anyway, if you're with us on SITV, we're going to break. We'll see you soon. Those of you with us on YouTube, let's keep rolling and talking about comp pick or pick value generally. When a draft like this, and we brought this up in the pod during the week hour, the Deion Jordan draft, it cost the Dolphins nothing to move up for Deion Jordan because that was viewed as a historically flawed draft class. This class has the same kind of flavor to it, where you're probably only going to have 8 or 9 guys. And now that we're beyond 10, I think that we're starting to see it become pretty easy to move up. Like last year, it's crazy to me that the Falcons spent what they spent to get back into the first round to get Pierce. And this is pennies on the dollar to move up in this draft, right?
Yep. Yeah. And I think the 2 5th-round picks, if it assures you that you're going to get Caleb Downs and you think that he's a true difference maker. Some of the comps I've heard for him, Troy Polamalu, a twitchier Eric Weddle. Again, like I think this guy's an impact player. And, I don't know if you caught this, before so here, like this was what Nick Saban said. So hang on a second here. I've got it. So they were on ESPN. They were on the Game Day show earlier. Those guys do a great job. I think our friend Herbie was on there. So like Ryan Day said that certainly when he came to us, he could have played in the NFL then. He transferred to Ohio State as a freshman. And then Saban said that he thought if he had come out after his freshman year, he would have been the first safety taken. So again, I think this is a guy who can be a culture changer for him. I think he's going to be a captain in his second or third year. Just a middle of the fairway pick. And I'd imagine this is going to be an all-pro for the Cowboys. I'm more sure about, people, in all seriousness, I obviously watch the Ohio State guys a lot, right? If you ask me who I'm most sure of, this is no question. No question. This is the guy with the lowest bust factor.
That's a good thing to come back to. I'll clip you on that. Let's dive into the comments here. Let's see here. Shoddy has been a pleasant surprise. Jag 73-19. You're absolutely right. Maybe don't go back and read what I wrote about him.
Aiden Proctor.
Wow.
So now the tackles are starting to come off. So do we start to see some movement now? The Rams are sitting here, and so I bet the Rams are going to get some offers.
Well, at this point, right? If they weren't going to make that move up for the premium playmaker, which I dreamed up in my sleep that they were going to, then I think you fall back. Although the Rams need offensive line help too, Albert. They need successors. They need guys that are going to come in there, and McVay has such specific needs, like especially at those guard positions, the movement that you need there. I wonder if the Penn State guys have fit there too. This is really interesting. Haldane 1988. I missed the Saints pick. Who did they take? Jordan Tyson, the wide receiver out of Arizona. Charlie Yarego asks, where's the MMQB postgame party? Dinosaur barbecue. Albert doesn't know this yet,
I love dinosaur barbecue.
I do love dinosaur barbecue.
I have a great dinosaur barbecue story. I was driving, I think this may have been the first time I went. So me and the Boston Globe's Chris Gasper, maybe my best friend in the business, me and Chris go way back. So our flight got canceled for a Patriots Buffalo game. I was at the Globe. Me and him, I think, were together at the Globe at the time. So we decide we're going to rent a car and drive. And maybe we were getting ahead of it. It might have been one of those like, oh crap, the storm's coming. Our Saturday flight's going to get canceled. Either way, we drove all the way from Boston to Buffalo, which isn't crazy. It's 7 hours, 6-7 hours. And sure enough, like I think it was him that said, we got to stop at Dinosaur Barbecue.
Hell
and
yeah,
now when I go to Bill's training camp, which is in Rochester, that's where I always eat. It is rock solid.
I mean, I went to the school at Syracuse, obviously the home of Dinosaur Barbecue, and I think back at a lot of the cool things that my parents did, but the coolest thing that they did always was they ordered off of the Dino Barbecue catering menu. They picked it up on their way, and then they brought it and they just threw it on our crappy dining room table in our college house so that all 5 of my best friends who live there could eat Dinosaur Barbecue. So that's great. I love that. What do you think about the Rams, Albert? What are they going to do
I
here?
think the Rams, and I'm going to
I think they're going offensive line. I think they're going offensive line. My mock draft is cooked, by the way. Cooked.
I think they're going to look at trading out. So one thing I said, like they've been connected to Mekhi Lemon a lot. I would say so.
We got
like,
Ruben Bain on the board.
I think the Rams view like if it is a receiver, and like that's where they've been rumored most, and we'll see what happens. But
what do you think about Kenyon
Lemon?
Sadiq,
I think their view of Mekhi Lemon and Omar Cooper is sort of similar. So if they trade down here, and so you like look at it, like if it's Mekhi Lemon here, that's great. You're happy with it, you go forward, right? Oh, wait a minute, no way.
Hello,
dude. There could be a bomb coming.
What? Come here. Let's go. Give it to me.
A bomb coming.
Come on, Albert.
Can I text it to you?
Yeah. Oh, how fun is that? Now I get to know something before everybody else. So this is something that's percolating. Do you think this is what Jay Glazer was talking about?
Oh, man. Oh.
No.
Oh. Yeah.
Oh my God. That would be wild. Please tell me that's going to happen. How sure are you that that's going to happen? I don't mean to keep this from anybody. It's like now I feel like
it's going to be a Ram.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Oh, that's awesome. That's awesome.
Oh my God.
Ty Simpson is going to be a Ram. How about that?
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Wow.
Oh man. I gotta tweet the podcast. I like
just when you tweet it out, just link it. I'm in stunned silence. The draft is awesome.
Yeah.
Isn't it awesome?
Great. This is awesome. Talking Ty Simpson. Talking Rams quarter. I see. I'm not Rams QB Ty Simpson.
Wow. Unbelievable. I would urge all of you guys to go back
about that,
and listen to. We had a
and
great
this was rumored, and I'm glad I put that in my column today too. Ty Simpson is a Ram. So you like that buildup then? Was that good?
The Rams are never going to be drafting this high. And I think that in my mock, I saw them moving up because, you take something to maximize the end of the Stafford window. Instead, they view it as we're never going to be picking this high, so we're going to take the quarterback.
So here's the thing, right? So like if you talk to people about Ty Simpson, what you hear is that he does need time to develop.
Yep.
And like one of the things that comes up is lack of accuracy. Now, like they had some things that happened at the end of the year there. And I think the feeling was that when they played against Oklahoma in week 10, Brent Venables, one of the best defensive coaches in all of football, unlocked something that really took advantage of a flaw in the Alabama pass protection. As a result, Ty Simpson got the crap kicked out of him the rest of the year. But there was always a lot on him mentally. There was always a lot on him to carry the team. They didn't have much of a running game, and then the protection broke down. What you saw was a flaw with accuracy. And I think that the coaches that I talked to said that had more to do with his feet than anything else, is there was like almost like a frenetic pace to his feet. And look, I think the ability to clean that up, I think going to a place like this was, and I said it to another coach. I said to another coach who I think you respect a lot earlier today, like, what if he goes to the Rams? And like, that's where he needs to go. So I think this is like, honestly, I didn't expect him to go 13th overall.
Wow. Do you think so? I mean, LA takes him here, and we have, after the Rams, we have the Ravens, we have the Buccaneers, we have the Jets again, we have the Lions, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Cowboys. I mean, are the Rams concerned about Pittsburgh here? Like, I'm just curious. Like, I could they have moved down and gotten him later? And I guess that's kind of a difficult projection. If you like the guy, take him now, right? And
that's the question. But I mean, like, I think it's honestly like, if you have the opportunity to take one, they're not going to be drafting this high again. Like, let's say there are 5 quarterbacks who go in the first round next year. History tells us those 5 are probably going in the first half of the first round, because that's where all the quarterback needy teams are. So what's your opportunity going to be to get a quarterback? I thought this was a possibility at 29 before they traded the Trent McDuffie pick. They trade the pick for Trent McDuffie. They have McDuffie. And so like, now I look at it like, all right, like, this is, like, if you really believe in him, don't mess around. And I think this is like, to me is, this to me makes like sense from the standpoint of where they are.
Here's an interesting thing too about Simpson, and this isn't a knock on Ryan Grubb. Ryan Grubb is the Alabama offensive coordinator this year. Okay. He was the Seahawks offensive coordinator last year. And we definitely saw the Seahawks take a considerable step forward when he moved on. And I think what Grubb was really good at calling plays in that offense with Michael Penix, and there was a little bit more pace to it. Once you get into the SEC or the NFL, when you have to sequence your running game to really make it succeed, I thought he struggled. And I wonder if the Rams saw a little bit of that with Alabama, where it's like, we just need to get this kid a running game that's tied into the pass, and we're going to buy him a little bit of time. You love that gunslinger mentality. And the one thing that you hear about Ty Simpson a lot, Albert, is fast processor. And that's what Sean McVay needs, really. Because I need a guy who can get to read 3, get to read 4, and pull the trigger with some confidence. And I think that's really where the rub on Goff came, is that Goff can get to read.
Can you imagine being Ty Simpson right now? You went into the night wondering if you were going to go in the first round, and now you're going to play for Sean freaking McVay.
Like, literally. And this is, so I did this project for the magazine last year where I asked 25 coaches, players, and figures around the league if you could play for one NFL coach. If your son was a quarterback and you wanted him to play for one NFL head coach, who would it be? And it was McVay by a landslide. Now, there were some O'Connells in there. There were some Kyle Shanahans in there. But McVay, it's interesting, Albert, it's worth talking about. He hasn't put his stamp on a rookie quarterback like this really yet,
So this is really
his pick.
So this is interesting now, because Reuben Bain is sitting there for the Ravens. And like, I think I know they like him. Do they like him at 14? So Tate's gone, Tyson's gone, going through the names. Delane's gone, Fano's gone. I think this is Sadiq, or I would guess Sadiq or Bain, probably Bain, if I had to guess right now.
You don't think Vega could go here to the? I think Vega's going here.
Oh, Vega could be a possibility too.
I like Vega,
but Bain being here, I think, is a curveball.
I always thought he was going to drop with the arm length questions. I just did, I thought that was kind of an issue that he wasn't going to be able to overcome. Let's dip into the comments real quick. I'm saying Vega. I think Sadiq Albert is a good call by you too. let's dip in here to the comments and see what's going on. Is Stafford retiring? No, I don't think Stafford's retiring. I think he just got his contract reworked, if I'm not mistaken. I think this is a perfect situation where you let Simpson bake for a year or two, and we'll see what happens. McVay has him ready to roll. Albert had been saying that they liked him and could get a bridge year to develop first, last, BN, 6, and L. Absolutely. Kid is just raw. He's got talent, says Jonathan Doe. I wish I could super chat you, said Mr. Snacks. Thanks, buddy.
This is going to be a great, the Simpson thing is going to be a great test of the golden rule of 25 starts too.
Yeah.
Because I know like what Simpson's camp felt like. And that was, he was practicing for 2 years against the Nick Saban defense in practice in the most intense environment against the best players in America. And having gone through that, you nailed it, Connor. Vega Ione to the
boom. Let's go.
There you go. There you go.
One of my favorite players in the draft off the board.
So Penn State offensive guard Vega Ione is now a Baltimore Raven. Perfect fit. Perfect fit. And a guy that I think they can plug in and be their Marshall Yanda now, right?
Yeah.
So I like that pick. I think that's a Raven pick,
Oh, yeah.
So I'm interested now because you got Ruben Bain still sitting out there. You got Mekhi Lemon sitting out there. You got Omar Cooper sitting out there.
Kenyon Sadiq.
And now Kenyon Sadiq, and now you got the Bucks. I think Sadiq or Bain, I had them with Mesidor. I would not rule out a trade up here. So does Detroit come up because they want to make sure they're getting their tackle?
They got to get a tackle.
Do the Eagles come up because they see the tackle starting to come off the board? Like I think Tampa is one of the teams that have been most aggressive about looking to trade down. Let me check in and see if they got something working. How about that?
I have, and it's interesting that you mentioned Kenyon Sadiq to the Bucks. I had Kenyon Sadiq to the Bucks in any kind of mock or projection that I did, and the reason why is because the Bucks played one of the highest percentages of 11 personnel in the NFL last year. They didn't do a lot of 2 tight end sets, and we saw Baker Mayfield banged up as a result of that. Now, Sadiq is not your typical, he's not like Gronk, where he's not going to add as much from the blocking as from the receiving, but the way that he can diversify your offense, I think
they're not trading.
The Bucks are staying home.
The Bucks are not trading.
Jason Light is always a value pick guy. He's the best player on the board guy. We saw that last year with Ibuka. When they already had 2 great wide receivers, and maybe that was anticipating losing Mike Evans. I don't know, but I really like Sadiq here. I don't know what your thoughts are, but
I like Sadiq here too. I think Sadiq's definitely in play. I'm just not sure they anticipated Bain being there, So now do you feel like you have to go Bain?
It's weird because Bain is one of those guys that if you watch him,
I just thought about this. If he gets by here, like the Jets could have Bailey and Bain.
Wow. We're going to break on SITV, by the way. Stick with us. We're going to keep rolling here on YouTube. Bain is one of those guys, Albert, that if you watch on film and no one tells you that there's an arm length issue, you're like, holy crap, this is one of the 3 or 4 best players in the draft. And you're not even thinking twice about it. But then once you dig into the lack of a historical comp for that body type and that body frame, I think that's where the concern comes out. And it's a legitimate one. We freaked out about the Will Campbell arm length thing, and it showed up in a very big spot in the Super Bowl where it was able to be manipulated and turned against him. Is Bain suffering sort of as a defensive version of that? I don't know, because Spencer Fano already went to the Cleveland Browns and kind of had the same label on him. Not to that severity, but I think that this is a really kind of a fascinating spot. How obsessed are teams going to be with outlier arm length on a defensive end? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean it's an interesting one for sure. And like I think the teams that are heavier analytics are more concerned about it. And I think the reason why, the simplest way to explain it is that if you don't have a historical comparison for a guy, it becomes much harder. And and that's what's interesting about Cleveland taking Fano, by the way, is that like they are analytically driven and they still took Fano, So like I think you look at like, okay, like who's going to be out on Bain because of that. I don't think, for whatever it's worth, like I dove into the draft season like really thinking character was going to be an issue with him. I don't think that's it. Like, I don't think that's why he's slipping. I think he's slipping just because a couple of the other positions came up behind him. I think Bain, like the car accident, obviously tragic result, but I think teams have kind of gone through it and dug into it, and like it feels like he's clean. Like he's not, I mean, is it perfect character? Maybe not, but I think most teams view him as clean. So I don't think that's why he's fallen a few spots. I think we're right in here. You know what I mean? Like, I think he's right in the next few picks, probably. Like Detroit would be an interesting home for Bain too. So
I think Dan Campbell's the kind of guy that would take a chance on someone like Ruben Bain and not be bothered by the length, because Campbell is more of a feel guy, right? It's about attitude. It's about how you're coming off. It's about how you're going to play. What kind of style are you going to play with? Let's dip into the comments here for a second. I heard all week there's roughly 20-ish true blue first rounders, regardless of week draft year. Curious how many of those remain. Jonathan Doe with a really great question.
Tampa drafted Bain. Okay, so yeah, so Tampa drafted Bain. So this makes sense. I had them taking Akeem Mesidor, I believe, in my mock. I have to go back and look at that, but I think edge rusher was something that they were going to be looking at. They need some help for Todd Bowles' defense. I think this one makes total sense. So Ruben Bain, who I think was in play as high as 9 coming into tonight, I would say the Bucs get him at 15. Like that for them. It's been a position they've sort of struggled to fill.
Yeah,
and they needed help there. I would tell you that I think Kenyon Sadiq really tempted them.
I can't imagine that he didn't. Yeah,
and like they have Zach Robinson now as their offensive coordinator, who was able to revive Kyle Pitts in Atlanta. I think they would have creatively been able to work with Kenyon Sadiq in that sort of way. So I really like the idea of Kenyon Sadiq to the Bucs, but I just think the value for Bain becomes too much, which is why that's the way to go here.
Give me Mekhi Lemon to the Jets. Give me Mekhi Lemon to the Jets. So I need to get back into this thing, dude.
AG was with Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Yes.
And that is a comp.
That is the Mekhi Lemon comp. Yep.
Yeah.
You're right.
The hard-nosed, tough, like the just mother bleeper of a receiver, right? I don't want to downgrade our YouTube rating or whatever. I think we were both told, right? Like that this could be.
I've been doing so good not cursing. I've been doing so good not cursing.
And I think my kids might be watching too. Hey Drew, hey Steve. I'm not.
I know. I think my mom. Yeah.
I'm not swearing here. I'm not setting a bad example for you. Ginny's already asleep. So I'm going. Yeah, I would say. So we got Bain there. I think Lemon is.
Give me Lemon to the Jets. That's what I need. I need Lemon to the Jets. My mock draft is absolutely like it's through the toilet. It is Shawshank Redemption. It is through the sewage pipe, and it is popping out in the other direction right now. I need a historic run on the back end of this thing, and I think I effed up my Patriots pick too, so I don't know if that's going to happen, but I do have Mekhi Lemon to the Jets in my mock draft. I'd really like to see that. And you know why too? Because the Amon-Ra St. Brown thing, it's the blocking receiving hybrid. That's what creates the opening space for guys. That's what creates the opening for someone like Cooper Kupp. That's what creates the opening for someone like JSN. And so if you're Garrett Wilson, you would be through the moon about a pick like this, where it's a receiver who doesn't care about coming in and doing the dirty work. You can let your athleticism shine a little bit. Man, that's a fist pumper if I get Mekhi Lemon there. Good job on the Bucs though, too. I don't want to fade the Bucs on this one. This is a classic Jason Light pick. He is a lot like Howie Roseman in that I think if you look back at his drafts historically, it's pure BPA. It's a lot of pure best player available. And it's not always perfect, but it's like who is just, regardless of our situation and regardless of what we need, the best guy around. And I think that's been kind of a classic Light pick. Bulls need some help on that defense, man. And I know he's changed a lot of stuff up. They went to Hassan Reddick as help for an edge rusher last year. So I think it makes a lot of sense.
Yep, I agree. Can I give you one more Ty Simpson nugget? That I think, so the story goes, and I'll be interested to flesh this one out, but the rumor had it So Les Snead, their general manager, is very good friends with Ty Simpson's dad, Jason Simpson, who I believe is the head coach at UT Martin. UT Martin. So I heard that, and this is a story that's been circulated. So I may not be the first one to tell everybody watching this, but I heard that part of the reason why Ty Simpson declared for the draft was Les Snead told his dad, "We'll take you."
Wow.
And at the time, remember, they had 13 and 29. That was before the Trent McDuffie trade. So, like, I was thinking, like, that's why I said I think 29 makes some sense. Like, but like now that they've given up 29, would they really do that at 13? And they're in such a win now position. But that's the story. Now, again, we have to flesh that out, see if that's. Maybe I'll just flush that out right now. But I mean,
well, you got nothing else going on. You're just on a live stream. You're tweeting. You're reporting. I mean, that stands alone as the biggest wow pick in this draft. And I mean, at some point, we all thought that common knowledge. Well, here's another way to come at this, Albert. Actually, wake up. What the hell are the Cardinals going to do now? Because Ty Simpson made the most sense for Arizona. And Arizona's in a contract stalemate with Jacoby Brissett. Jimmy Garoppolo's retiring. They don't have a lot of options here. I mean, I think if I'm the Cardinals, I'm freaking out a little bit. Jeremiah Love might have to play quarterback. I mean, this is how this is looking right now. Maybe that's why they took him at 3.
Full-time Wildcat offense.
Full-time Wildcat. I mean, bring back Tony Sperano, God rest his soul,
Yeah. I mean, I think that the Cardinals are in an interesting spot now. Where the next quarterback goes, I think is a very wild range of.
Were they the Carson Beck team?
Sadiq the Jets.
Kenyon Sadiq to the Jets. Interesting.
Yes. Yeah.
All right, so they're going to do more 12 and 13 personnel stuff this year. Okay.
So that's interesting. I like that because part of it, like part of the logic on the receiver thing was taking the pressure off of Garrett Wilson and finally finding him a running mate. And I think Sadiq does accomplish that. So they wind up with Sadiq and David Bailey in the first round, which is like 2 freak athletes. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I think if you're Muji,
they'll win the NFL decathlon with those 2.
If you're Muji, I think you have to come out of this thinking like, regardless of Aaron Glenn, I need to come into 2027 with my 2 first-round draft picks aimed at getting a quarterback for the future, and I have to have the table totally set for him. Yep. And I think Sadiq goes a long way for that. You can run a lot of 12 personnel stuff now because I'm still surprised it's not Lemon, Albert, if I'm being honest with you, but you got Mason Taylor last year, different kind of tight end. And it's just like, with the Raiders doing Mayer and then Brock Bowers or anything like that. 12 personnel is becoming an NFL standard. 13 personnel. I mean, a lot of people had Kenyon Sadiq mocked to the Rams because they knew that they needed that for
I
their
think
offense.
The thing about
it's Sadiq, kind of
here was like so I know so I remember when I talked to the Chiefs people about Sadiq. I remember having this conversation with a couple of them on would you take him versus a Tate or a Tyson? And like part of the argument was Sadiq might have as good a chance as anybody to becoming a focal point of someone's passing game. And we've seen that like with Super Bowl teams, like Gronk as the focal point of the Patriots passing game, Kelsey as the focal point of the Chiefs passing game. And so I think your question would be like, is he capable of being that guy?
Yeah.
And I think he probably is, right?
Yeah.
Like it's just based on his athletic ability. So I look the way I look at it, like I think he's, I think you really have a chance here. Like at the very least, like I think he takes the pressure off of Garrett Wilson, and you're starting to put together like a core, right? So you have your tackles, and we talked about this with the Saints, right? You have your tackles in Fashanu, Olu Fashanu, and Armand Membu, right? So you have the 2 tackles taken care of. You have Sadiq, you have Wilson, you have Hall. So you're starting to see the core come together for CJ Carr or Dante Moore or Arch Manning or Julian Sand or whoever it is.
We're going to bring in our first and probably only guest of the night. We got about 25 minutes here
Yeah.
left on the
So
live
here's
stream.
like on the
Hey,
last
Brian
sneak.
Fisher's here, Albert.
Hey, Brian Fisher, how you doing? I'm going to give him
S-
one more Ty Simpson nugget before.
Go ahead.
So it is true that Les Snead had conversations before the declaration and helped advise him. I don't think he maybe didn't promise him. And it's hard to promise anything, but like they did talk. I do have that confirmed that Les did talk with Ty Simpson's family ahead of his decision to declare for the draft.
Wow.
Well, Albert, you got to go back to Ty Simpson faced a big decision there to whether he was going to leave Alabama or possibly transfer. And there was a lot of talk about, hey, he had $4 or $5 million out there in terms of NIL revenue sharing, whatever, to possibly come back to school. So that's another factor. And I think it definitely surprised a lot of people there in Tuscaloosa that he said, you know what? No, I'm jumping to the draft. And this is probably why.
Brian Fisher, by the way, one of our great SI college football writers. Were you surprised here? I mean, is this the biggest surprise of the draft for you?
I think so. I mean, certainly some of the trades in that top 10, you could probably say, all right, well, maybe that was a bit of a surprise in terms of the Chiefs jumping up a little bit and making that move and at least spending that draft capital. And, for the Rams, I mean, it's an interesting conversation if you are that front office in terms of thinking, what could we get next year? Where does Ty Simpson really stack up? Do we really want to push our chips all in? And we've been saying, bleep these picks for how many years now? And we've been focusing on, yes, we do want to have that transition planning and moving forward. But, like if you look, truthfully, though, if you do look at the first half of last year with Ty Simpson, you can understand him being the 13th pick. It's just when the injuries came in, certainly his level of play dropped. I don't think his wide receiver core did him any favors, certainly down the stretch.
So really quick, sorry, Brian. The Lions take Blake Miller from Clemson.
Okay. They had to come out of here with
another tackle off the board. I think that makes 4 now, right?
Yeah.
So we still have Freeling on the board. We still have a Hennichor, and we still have Lomu. So a 4th tackle off the board now through 17 picks.
Wow.
And that was another team that did a ton of work, on tackles, I think over the course of their draft prep. And, an interesting prospect too, in terms of maybe not playing to the level, but a high floor type of guy there for the Lions.
I want to dip into the comments and answer some questions here, but first I want to give you guys a heads up. Not only do we have our 2 hosts from the MMQB podcast, but Brian, plug the college football pod while you're here. And if you're not subscribed to the SA College Football Pod, please do that because I think it is the best college football pod out there.
Well, we only have about half of the Ohio State Notre Dame chatter as others receiving votes with my colleagues, Matt Forty, Kevin Sweeney, wherever podcasts are found. We're certainly on YouTube, all the other pages. So be sure to give us a follow. And I'm sure we'll be recapping the draft next week as well.
First, last BN wants to know, can someone like Monroe Freeling fall to Houston at this point? It's fascinating. We're kind of seeing that tackle market like the receiver market, which tends to run in waves, and we're having them kind of go concurrently right now where it's like weapon and tackle. And this is where it kind of matches up with some of the teams that I thought would take these guys. And so, I mean, do I think that he can make it all the way to Houston at 28? I mean, if so, Nick Caserio deserves a medal for playing the board the way that he did, for letting go of Titus Howard and then knowing that he was going to get at least a semi-solid pick at the end of the first round. I don't know. He might have to move up, though. And a couple people were talking about that, too. Another interesting question. Would the Panthers take Mekhi Lemon after they took Tet McMillan, after they saw Bryce Young develop the way that they did? Dave Canales and Brad Idzik both started their careers in the receiver room. I think that has some kind of an influence when it comes to building the offense and pairing your quarterback with an elite player. We saw how much more confident Bryce Young looked with someone like Tet McMillan, big guy who can run the route tree. Maybe Lemon's a stylistic complement to that. We also have Toomey, 11,690. Place your Thieneman jokes here. Your easy replacement for Harrison Smith. I mean, yeah, it's like, when Wes Welker leaves the Patriots, we're all looking for like a short white guy wide receiver to draft for him. And yes, when the Vikings potentially lose a heady safety, you have someone out of Oregon like Thieneman who's right there, and I think is perfect for him there. Brian, who's like the best player that you have watched all year that you're like pounding the table for and saying, why isn't this guy off the board yet?
Oh, off the board, I was going to say, I was about to speak there on Caleb Downs, because I think that might be, in terms of the overall, best player that you've seen, just, like checks every box. He's one of them. Certainly Caleb, Jeremiah Love on the offensive end, another guy that you're just like, all right, I can understand why, positional value aside, with both those guys. Like, those are, if we were 15 years from now, we're saying who is the best players that emerged out of the draft, wouldn't be shocked at all that would be one of those two. In terms of best,
we're hitting a break for those of you guys on SITV. By the way, we're going to keep rolling on YouTube. Keep going, Brian.
Sorry, Brian. I'm just doing.
No, I
think anybody understands.
I'm used to the dings too at this point between you and Pat. Whenever we're recording, so like in terms of
Pat is older. Just to be clear, Pat is older than me. Conor, I don't need
allegedly. I don't know. I mean,
he's got the gray hairs there. I'd be curious. Like, this is an interesting draft because like everybody's talked down the defensive tackle group. Like I actually think you can get some pretty good values here in like the second half of the first round, like a Caleb Banks at Florida. I know there's obviously an injury history with him, but in terms of where he could be, potentially the upside with him. He's a guy I would circle there. Certainly there's a number of options for a lot of these teams, and it's truthfully getting to that point in the draft where you're going to have to focus a little bit more on the value, just given that we're seeing some of these tackle runs. Somebody like Caleb Lomo, who I think is another guy, Monroe Freeling, two of those guys that you could pencil in there as left tackles. Not a whole lot of guys nowadays, and I think left at this point in the draft where you can still say that could be a prototypical left tackle that we can throw him out there.
Why do you guys think Mekhi Lemon's still on the board? And I know that he's been all over the place. If you look at all different kinds of mock drafts, I think it's one of those things where
just use that picture.
The Lemon thing has been getting a lot of buzz in the comments, and I think a lot of people are enjoying that, by the way. So why do you guys think he's still on the board? I mean, to me, he was I always thought the Tyson thing was a lot of a product of late hype. Clearly, I'm wrong. I mean, this guy went into the top 10. Lemon was like a wide receiver too for me. And again, I think everybody's evaluations are different. Justin Jefferson went 22.
This is a stunner.
Oh,
Caleb Banks to Minnesota.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. Caleb Banks from Florida. Injury issues, a little bit of a football character issue, but massively talented. And so Brian Flores now gets a guy. I think he's the only one of the D tackles who really has a chance to be a game wrecker in the class, but Caleb Banks is a Viking.
Brian just got finished talking about that. I mean, maybe you find that high-end value, 6'6", 327. What's interesting about the Vikings is that I think they allowed hubris to take over to a certain degree. And you take J.J. McCarthy, who's like the 5th quarterback available, and you say, well, we got Kevin O'Connell, and he's going to turn him into a great player. They're not letting that happen to the defense. I thought that this pick was defense regardless all along. And you're seeing Brian Flores lose his core guys. You just signed him to an extension. Flores could have gone out into the open market and literally, if he would have gone to Dallas and said, give me $7 million to be your defensive coordinator, pay me nearly as much as you're paying Brian Schottenheimer to be your defensive coordinator, I think the Cowboys would have done it, right? He has some say and some sway in that building. And it's interesting. I mean, I thought it would have been safety here, but man, you're taking a big upside swing on this. What can you tell us about Banks, Brian?
Well, a true 3 technique that can rush the passer. I think that's probably the biggest question around the entire defensive tackle class is like, all right, yes, you're good against the run, but who can really get that push, especially up the middle, which we know quarterbacks do not like in the NFL.
I just got a picture of somebody throwing up the OHIO in the Titans draft room after they or the forum. These are the things that get sent, Brian.
Okay. Well, we'll see what any Notre Dame. Do we get the Notre Dame for Conor at least?
I don't know. Is there some sort of signal for that?
Well, Brian wasn't here, but I do have
now. By the way, 99 first-round picks for Ohio State.
Look at him. He's just like,
Stay tuned to SI.com tomorrow. You might have an Ohio State column from me as well. So,
hey, there we go. I'm sorry, Brian. Continue though.
But like the defensive tackle class, I mean, Caleb Banks is one of those guys that can get upfield. He has that quick burst, and yes, the injury history is probably why he's here. Like, I think if he got clean medicals and there's not that concern about him, certainly off the field, I think there are a number of teams that maybe have pushed him down the board as well. that was not the case. I think he's a guy that you're looking at going in the top 15. And I think he's one of the rare guys. He brings the size, but he's got that quickness, that first step that you're looking for.
It'll be interesting too to see how he fits in, because like I think they've got a good culture there. It's not a new program. You know, Kevin O'Connell's now going into, was this his fifth year? It's interesting, at least, like, all right, like, because I think he had to go to one of these sorts of places. You know what I mean? He had to go to a place that was going to have a strong culture because of what Brian was talking about. Like, the weight has been an issue. Can he keep his weight down? But I mean, I actually, believe it or not, I got a Jeffrey Simmons comp on him.
Interesting.
If that's what he becomes, like, holy crap, you know what I mean? Like, so like you're taking a swing here, I think is what it is. And maybe you strike out, but maybe you hit a home run.
Is Kwesi Adolfo-Mensah still drafting Wonder's huge anus? And I'm just going to keep calling you out because I know what it says. We used to do that at the we used to have like community dances, and we used to say, you know, whatever.
We're going to get downgraded on YouTube for that one.
I'm not going to say them because there's all the names, you know, where you ask the lady at Acme to say it over the loudspeaker, you know.
The old Mo's Tavern trick, yeah.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's classic.
Mo's Tavern, Mo speaking.
But it's not and Jonathan Doe from the comment section brings up a great point. Like, nobody's really talking about this Vikings front office and hasn't been talking about this Vikings front office. I mean, there was a cataclysmic change. The GM is no longer there, and you kind of roll with what you have remaining.
They're about to go through a GM search, yeah.
And they're about to go through a GM search. And so this is a really, you know, is this more of a coaching staff led pick, which my argument is always that they always should be, or they almost always should be. But this is this coaches standing on the table and saying, I need this guy and I don't care who's going to be here next year making this pick.
So since we got Brian here, I'm interested in that, because I think the next pick might be Thieneman. Hold on a second. Carolina's picking. So if this is Thieneman, I want to get your opinion on him, because I think Purdue lost a lot of these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, there's a receiver from Oklahoma, right? Burks. There was Thieneman, and there was Claire. No, Monroe Freeling to Carolina. Okay. I think I nailed that one. I think I got that one, Connor.
You're just destroying me in the mock draft competition. It's like,
I think I got that one.
It's like a UFC fight that's becoming like an assault and possible murder at this point, and the referee needs to stop it.
The only thing this is missing is that whiteboard. You guys need the whiteboard to count out and get the check marks or something. That's what we need.
That's 5 tackles also. So the tackle run is really happening now, and now Dallas is back on the clock. Dallas really liked Thieneman, so they already took downs.
What's wrong with doubling up at that position too? You know, the way you can move those guys, especially playing
You're right.
closer to the box, you know, a little bit more. Thieneman.
I mean, they do complement each other, because like Downs is more of like a move around. You can play them down, and then Thieneman is more of like the traditional center fielder, right, Brian?
Yep.
So you could play those two guys together.
And look, you know, I thought when Caleb Downs, you know, got picked, I was like, that was the spiritual successor to Darren Woodson there in Dallas. Like, he can,
the
green dot guy.
I got Monroe Freeling to the Panthers, by the way, and these are the ones that are satisfying, Connor. The ones that are further down the line.
You're right. I mean, and that's the ones. It proves your ball knowership or your research skills. I will say this, guys, it's 9:52, and so we are streaming until 10 o'clock. We're losing Breer in about 3 minutes, and then Brian and I are going to hang right through 10. But I just want to say something. I'm blown away. The number of people that have been in here, that have been commenting, that have been reaching us from different social media platforms, just completely blows me away. Thank you from the bottom of our hearts. Please subscribe to the Others Receiving Votes podcast. Please subscribe to the MMQB podcast. Yeah. You can get this twice a week. We're going to turn this into a pod for you guys to listen to on Friday morning, and then we'll be back, obviously, to break down the draft on Monday. But thank you. I can't say that enough.
Like, I honestly think, Brian, I don't know if you caught me saying this, but like, we're not telling anybody not to watch the draft. You know, I love watching the draft, and those guys do a great job. Hopefully we were able to give you a little bit of a different experience and a little something extra. Maybe you got 2 screens up, whatever it is, but hopefully like we're able to kind of give you guys a little bit more of a live reaction in the moment. I'm trying to give you guys some of the stuff that's happening in the war rooms, some of the backstories on some of this stuff. And, you know, I think like if we can just give you guys a little something extra to wrap your arms around, we're doing our job. And like, again, I always say this like on our podcast and on the Breer reports and everything else, but please leave your comments and your feedback down below. That does help us, helps our bosses figure out what we're doing. Our video people work really hard at it. And so like the more feedback we get, the better job we can do for you. And yeah, so that's the last serious thing I'll say tonight.
Amen.
Yeah. And we're about to be 20 picks in, which is great. And maybe I can get one more here and get out of here because I've got some other responsibilities. But I want to thank the guys in the back end too, because I know this wasn't the easiest thing in the world to put together.
Alex, Shelby, everyone from SITV, thank you guys for doing all of this. Yeah, tremendous job on the back end.
Yeah. So, but we are rolling. So, and let's see if we can get this last pick in here.
We need the little.
You guys can talk. Right? You don't need to watch me text.
No, they went back to the lemon graphic, which is just like my favorite thing ever. It's just it keeps going back to it, and it makes me.
He's pissed chuckle. He hasn't been taken yet. Can you blame him?
Listen, like, subscribe, leave comments, like Albert said. Let's see.
Would you steal it? Would Mike McCarthy take lemon?
I mean, the receiving core is old. I know they still have faith in DK Metcalf. Do you spend that first round capital?
But he's a slot, so he fixed it. And I want to answer the question. Somebody asked why. One of you guys asked why is London still there? I think it's like, I think the limitation with him is like some teams see him purely as a slot, and that maybe there isn't a whole lot of value outside of that. Now, Mekhi Lemon is looking at us sideways. It's getting more and more pissed at us.
It's one of those things that when you've been staring at your computer for, I mean, really, I mean, what feels like, I don't know, what's a week's worth of hours, like 2,000 hours. Like, it's just like you're getting that late night sillies, and that is just hitting the right spot. It's beautiful. I love it. So good.
I got to roll, but thank you, everybody. Thank you. I'm going to give you one last pick. It's coming. It's coming. It's coming. The Dallas Cowboys are going to select. Give me 1 minute, and we'll have it here for you. And this will be it. And I will walk out.
Oh, slam the earpiece down. Do it. Get it.
No, I need it. I've got to run onto TV. So like I can't slam it down anywhere.
Just wipe the makeup off and say, I'm done. I did it.
I didn't see like the.
Are you in makeup?
Philly trading up to 20
with Dallas.
With the Cowboys.
There we go. All right.
Oh, wait. No. Did they trade up to 21? Oh, hold on. So Dallas.
You can't leave us hanging now. I'm sorry. I'll call your TV provider, your TV bosses here, and talk to them about this. We got to sort this out before you go.
Philly trading up. Hey, Robbie. Philly traded up. Tell him Philly traded up. Oh, Dallas traded back. Okay, so Dallas traded back. Philly traded up. Hang on a second. Did Philly took Lemon.
Wow. There he is. There he is. What a way to send this home. What a way to send this home.
All right, guys. I'll see you later.
You're the best. Thank you, Albert. Unbelievable.
Love it.
What a slam dunk on the way out the door. Just announcing
it too. I mean, we were just talking about Lemon as possibly one of the best, certainly the best players available at that time, but Philly to trade up in the division too. Go get Lemon, and he's a physical guy. I know you like you're saying that everybody does kind of see him as a slot guy. I think he can play outside if needed, especially given some of the situations. But tremendous catch radius, like he makes those contested catches, which with Jalen Hurts, I think this is a terrific pick for Philly there.
And it's interesting, right? Because you're losing someone like AJ Brown. And I'm curious your take on this as we wrap it up. In college football, I seem to think that they're so much better at understanding the idea that like you can still manipulate or create an effective block with a small on a big. I mean, Army's been doing this for years, right? And they've been able to make their way just by affecting the play and not necessarily dominating it. The Eagles are going to lose AJ Brown here in the coming days or the weeks post June 1. They've always preferred these kind of physical downfield receivers. Even Devonta Smith does a lot in the blocking game to help them out. I don't think Lemon is out of that realm for them. Like you said, I mean, I think that this is a pick that helps Saquon Barkley as much as it helps anyone else.
Well, I think in just a mentality too, the approach that he's going to have, there's always the talk about Amon-Ra St. Brown, which he gets compared to quite a bit about, like, he knows every guy that was drafted before him. Lemon's going to be the same way. And he's going to fit into that culture there in Philly with Nick Sirianni and those guys. Like he's going to lean into the headbutting that's going on in the locker room and just getting everybody riled up. Like, and I think truthfully, he does kind of expand that catch radius. He's almost like a second tight end too, with where you can either pull him in real tight, or you can just, you can put them out by the numbers if you want. So I think he gives them a little bit of flexibility that maybe say AJ Brown just didn't give them at this point.
And the other thing too is I think that we have to understand this in a post Jalen Hurts universe. And I think this is like, such a weird cliffhanger to leave everyone with a minute left here. But the way that Jalen Hurts' contract was set up, the fact that every offensive coordinator hire has been so arduous to them, it's not like we can lock this guy in like Josh Allen and say, in 5 years, I know this guy's going to be here. I think the Eagles are doing what they did do best under Howie Roseman. They're making true value picks that can survive a coaching change, that can survive a quarterback change, because they make them sooner than any other team. And so I think that, this is, again, like, if you were to tell me Lemon slipped, and again, air quotes, because he didn't slip, we just had him higher, right? If he was there at 20, who's trading up for him in the NFL draft? I mean, Howie Roseman's probably the first person that comes to mind there.
And it's going to be curious too. Does that push, Omar Cooper down a little bit further? To some of those, wide receiver needy teams kind of in the 30s and, closer to the 30 and 31. Maybe that's another option too for some of those teams down at the end of the first round. So, fascinating pick too with the interdivision trade. And the way Dallas has kind of moved about the board. You got some credit in terms of adding picks, and really trying to improve the roster at the same time.
I had the Raiders coming back in to take Omar Cooper to pair with Fernando Mendoza as more of kind of a Brady kept talking about, I'm going to create the right environment, bringing Kirk Cousins. And I was like, well, maybe bringing in a guy who made a lot of tough catches for Fernando Mendoza makes sense. But interested to see where Omar Cooper goes. Denzel Boston, another one of my favorite guys in this draft that I think has a lot of upside. But we have hit the 10 o'clock hour. I just want to thank you guys again. I mean, McSnacks, C. Lawhorn, First Last, everybody. I mean, I've been reading these comments. I've been blown away with just the engagement, with everybody coming in. I appreciate Brian coming in, Albert doing gymnastics and tipping picks and just going buck wild. I mean, I think Goodell's still on like pick 15 and we're already through Mekhi Lemon to there he goes. Mekhi Lemon just got drafted by the Eagles, but you heard it here first, about 20 minutes sooner. That's what it's all about. We appreciate you guys so much. And we'll be back with a new edition of the MMQB podcast very soon. If you're not listening to that, if you're not listening to others receiving votes, fix that. Like, subscribe, review, rate, all that stuff. Thank you guys. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, everyone behind the scenes. And we'll see you guys soon.